Now the ultimate power in the universe.
Sharing the love, spreading the light in real time. Friday night love stream.
Very happy to have a guy we instantly resonated with. Unbiased and on the fence. I'm talking about Shane C. Robinson. And his purpose is to rise above the worldviews that are designed to separate us so we can unite as one.
Sometimes you have to sort of take a step back, and I think Unbiased and on the Fence is a really, really good title for your show, because you are in the central point when you're unbiased and on the fence. That's what it means. It doesn't mean you're indecisive. It means you are taking the central point and you're seeing the multiple perspectives.
Unbiased and on the fence.
If you haven't checked Unbiased on the Fence, go and check his channel out. You might like it.
This is Dan Holfeld from Talk is Cheap, and you're listening to Unbiased and on the Fence with Shane Robinson.
If this much sincerity enters your life, come to this much. What I know, I know. What I do not know, I do not know. I don't believe anything, I don't disbelieve anything. I'm willing to look at everything. You will become a sensible human being.
Have you checked out our website?
Visit us on the web at uotf.net. You're listening to The Love Stream.
All around the world in real time.
This is Shane with Unbiased and On the Fence. You're listening to the Friday Night Love Stream.
Your calls, your stories. On air, you're listening to the Love Stream.
Sharing the love and spreading the light all around the world. This is Unbiased and On the Fence.
Unbiased and on the Fence.
How are you guys doing tonight? Wow, the energies are crazy, let me tell you. Got tons of stuff going on. We got Contact in the Desert. Hopefully Shiny will have time to check in. Of course, it's 2 hours earlier there, so the festivities are still well underway, but we will get an update from her sometime this weekend, hopefully. And a few other people that might call in. It is feeling great. You have to, it's intense though, so it's almost like it amplifies whatever you're feeling, so be happy. Take that deep breath of that pure, wonderful prana in. Enjoy. Phone lines are open. You can call in on the number on the screen. In the description box, I do have the international numbers, and if you have trouble with any of those, there is the website you can join, and that is talkshoe.com/show/lovestream. Awesome. We want to go to the phone lines here. Todd from Pennsylvania. How's it going, buddy? Long time no talk.
It's going, that's for sure. What direction, I don't know, but it's definitely going.
Wow, the energies are amped up in my neck of the woods. I don't know about you.
Oh, yeah, definitely here, too. I mean, it's palpable. Everybody can definitely feel and sense there are changes afoot.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's hard to say, you know, what exactly is going on. It's difficult to pin down, but you can definitely feel it within. Something is sound.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely exciting times we're in here.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure. So, Shane, I wanted to call in because I watched your excellent video on telepathy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the last one I just put out. Yeah, what did you think about that?
Well, first of all, where was the source of that originally? I'm curious.
The link was in the description. The website is officialfirstcontact.com. And it comes from an extraterrestrial race, I guess you would call them, called the Ponti, who operate out of the Sandia Mountains near Albuquerque, New Mexico. And we actually had Kevin Estrella on talking about that, which is also in the link in that same video, the telepathy video. You can go watch the original one. But he's been having contact with them for a while, and many others. I just received
I missed
email.
the Kevin Estrella video, that's for sure. But I do want to say that telepathy video that you put out, that information was absolutely accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very good.
Well,
I highly recommend it to anyone who is interested in the subject.
Yeah, it's one of those synchronistic things that kept coming up over and over again, and then I found out in one of my one of the BQH sessions that Radar, which is one of the Ponti, had been urging me to do the video, and I was like, oh, I thought it was just an idea in my own mind, but a lot of times it comes through that way, you know.
Yeah, yeah. The one thing, I just had one critique of it, and I wouldn't necessarily state it's a critique, but for those that are just coming into telepathy and what it really means and what it's really about, the best thing to do is to go direct to source, okay? And that bypasses your higher self, yet talks to the higher power that is for all that is. Okay? And
so you're saying for first communication to actually connect to source?
It's the clearest channel that you can channel for all that is.
Right.
Okay? And it's a way that you can hone in on your skills.
Right.
Very, very accurately. But, you know, for what he was stating in that, I mean, I went through the process myself naturally through this ascension process. And I just have to say that he was just spot on, completely accurate. Really, really great information. For the most part, yes, have fun with it. But for the next part, what I want to say is, if you want to eliminate that chatter and that noise from other beings out there, when you go to source, you cut the bullshit and you go direct to source, which is the strongest channel out there.
And I imagine that's what we're doing when we tap into our intuition, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's the intuitive, that's the whole intuitive part of it that he was talking about. That's 99 to 98% accurate.
Right. Yeah, that sudden knowing part where he was talking about the sudden knowing. Yeah.
Yeah, the sudden knowing.
And I guess that's what people hear when they hear the loud voice. We hear people talk about a loud voice where it was like, you know, don't go in there, or, You know, it's a very stern, and it's usually a life-saving directive, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, here's the thing I want to state about that. The whole don't go in there and, you know, Source isn't about that.
Mm-hmm.
Source is welcoming to all of the creation. And when you are purifying yourself and going through this ascension process of purifying yourself and making yourself the best that you can be, Source welcomes that with open arms for all to see.
Right.
And you definitely will build a very strong resonance and a very strong sensitivity to the true Source for all that can be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? As you hone your connection, you'll see that there is no inflection. It is very, very strong and very, very intuitive, very, very much, you know, as you need to know,
mm-hmm.
as you should know in that moment. And I just have to say, you know, going through the process that I went through, that's how I learned my skills too. You know, I went direct to Source. I eliminated all the middlemen because I always knew that the middlemen had some agenda or some sort of a game to play.
Right.
And Source doesn't play games.
Mm-hmm.
Source lets us play games. Do you know what I mean, Shane?
Yeah, you mean just out of our free will, if we if we choose.
Yeah,
but
Source knows the games that we play.
Yeah.
Source doesn't play games. Source is just Source.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the best place to go for the best, truest learning how to channel and learning your true self.
Don't you feel like this whole
Okay.
telepathy idea is really connected with so many different things? I mean, even psychic abilities and just, I mean,
Oh,
a lot
yeah.
of, yeah, it's all kind of tied in with that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is what I learned through the process of going through it.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to Source, you have the clearest channel there that is sort of the source, the nexus for all of the other channels out there.
Right.
You purify yourself with Source, and then you can go elsewhere as you choose and as you please. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
With total ease. But the idea is, as you're going to the truest source that there is in the known, you know, omniverse, you can sort out, you know, what's not true in yourself, which is what a lot of the middlemen tend to play with and cause you doubt.
I think that ties into what it was saying about really learning to be honest with ourselves, because, I mean, that's something I realized a while back, is that we lie to ourselves more than anyone else. And, you know, a lot of times we don't even realize it, you know. Well, I know this, but we really don't. Or, you know, I think this, but we really don't know for sure, you know. So really kind of coming to that conclusion of what we really do know, what we've really experienced, and what we've just kind of picked up as baggage from other people, you know.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. You have to understand everybody's kind of a newbie at this. And as newbies, I suggest go to the source. Source will show you the honest, true you. Source will always show that. And you'll get a funny feeling when you're not being true to yourself.
Right.
You'll get a sensation. You'll get an experience. And it's one of those things, I don't want to narrow it down to one particular thing you're going to sense or feel or smell or taste.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's across the board. The whole thing, it's everything that you can sense and then some. It's a whole multiverse, okay, that you are in, that you're immersed in. And that's why that guide was really great, that it covered all of the various topics of how you sense and how you feel and, you know, what you experience and everything. But it's actually even more than what they covered.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sort of just the
in
basics.
The multiverse. Yeah, it's the basic primer. And that's why I enjoyed it so much. But when you're coming into it and you may perceive yourself as tainted or not totally honest with yourself, that's why I recommend go to source directly, just to sort out what it is within you that...
Whoops. Uh-oh. I don't think we lost Todd. Yeah, I've had a TalkShoe it said that we had internet connections early on, but everything was working fine. So if you can call right back in, Todd. I'm not able to call you back from this phone system. I really would like to hear what else you have to say. So yeah, it's one of the things in that guide, for those who haven't checked it out, is it talks about pairing up with someone. So, you know, I think, you know, this community, it's great that we've got different people that can pair up with one another and try out the telepathy. That's what I was going to ask Todd next, if he's had a partner that he can, someone that he can practice with, to see if, you know, to you know, just practice and have fun with it. Like it mentioned using playing cards and things like that, which I think, you know, is a cool way of doing that. We used to, you know, we did that when I was a kid. Me and my cousin would get a deck of cards and see who could, like, pull an ace out of it. We just kind of thumb through the cards, and then it's like, I feel it, you know, I feel like I'm getting close, I feel it. And I don't know, we were accurate way more than we should have been for, you know, just chance. And I don't know, it was really cool. And we both could do it. And then we tried to, you know, pick a card and send it to the other person. And I think we got Todd back here. Are you there, Todd? All right, buddy. Sorry about that. I don't know. It just dropped on you. So yeah, you were saying over and above what the basics were, you were going into a little bit more about that. Mm-hmm.
With source, you'll see that you can then go out and channel confidently all of these other beings that are out there for all to see.
Right.
You know, the idea is that as long as you're honest with yourself, you have nothing to worry about. You don't really even need to ground and protect. So many people talk about when you're doing telepathy and everything, you need to ground and protect it. It's a very fearful sort of argument about the whole process. It's not even about that. It's about being truthful and honest and only putting out source vibes, your unique, personally bestowed source vibes that you are as you were created out there into the ethers. And resonating with another being that's only giving you their unique source-bestowed vibes that's unique to them in the ethers. Do you know what I mean, Shane?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and April's brought up a pretty good point here. She said, you know, when couples are together, especially if they've been together for a while, a lot of times that, you know, want to speak one thing and the other one's like, hey, that was just on my mind. I think we do this sort of thing all the time, or know when someone's going to call you, or know who it is when the phone's ringing before actually looking at it. I think these are all us kind of accidentally tapping into the whole telepathic channel.
Oh, yeah. This happens very, very often. It's becoming more and more frequent. And it's a wonderful thing. I mean, we all look forward to this tipping point to where we can just get rid of the phones altogether, I think.
Yeah.
Who wants to pay to communicate?
Right. You know what kind of it's kind of freaky that, you don't have to have, you can just think of someone. You don't have to have really even their name or imagine their face or anything. And it just goes to that person, you know what I mean? Just that whole connection. We need the numbers if you're dealing with a phone or technology, but it's just intention is all you need.
Yeah, exactly. It was just like we got disconnected, and I intended to connect right back with you to pick up the conversation because I wanted to make that point about being truthful and honest.
Yeah.
And how that's very important in the ethers to your purest communication.
It's probably one of the
ahead.
more difficult things to do is just the whole being honest and to control your thoughts. Because, if you connect telepathically, like they were saying, and, you're thinking one thing and you're sending that, but you didn't mean to really send it because we're so used to saying one thing and thinking another here, right?
Well, Shane, I would call that a bad habit.
Yeah.
And it's a bad habit that we picked up from the 3D reality that we have to kind of push beyond to evolve beyond that and drop the, it's little kids playing with dirty toys. We want to play with clean toys now. Yeah. And it's time that we clean them up and start the honest, good intentions.
Yeah. But it's kind of what's needed, if we've got all sorts of different, even just amongst us, if you come across someone that speaks a completely different language that you don't speak, and you can just speak telepathically because it's more of, I guess, a knowing or images or whatever. You don't have to have the actual words to use telepathy. So it kind of drops that whole, those language barriers,
Well, it does, absolutely. And I would say that, telepathy is, it's more than that. It's body language comes into play. I mean, it's your whole multiversal environment that comes into play when you're communicating with another being. So you may, if you do have the luxury of being in their presence, then yes, of course, you want to observe everything in the body language, everything in, the whole emotional, what you're feeling as you're communicating, sensing frustration, sensing, delight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want to focus on that positive aspect, and if you really want to communicate with anyone, focus on that positive aspect and drill through that, any sort of apprehension that you have. And, this even works, remotely when you're not in their presence too.
Right.
But for that, you have to be true.
Yeah.
And that's the simple key to it.
Yeah.
And they nailed it in that presentation.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you liked it. I think that, what you're saying really ties into what it was saying about the emotional aspect of it. Because to have true emotions into something, you do have to be truthful,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You can't, it's very difficult to fake, being disingenuous. It's like, it becomes very awkward to, fake something that's not coming from the heart. And over telepathy, it's transparent as all get out. Okay, you just can't fake it.
Right.
I mean, because you're transmitting both an electric, which is the truth, and a magnetic, which is the heart. Okay, And you can't fake your magnetic emotional, just like you can't fake your electric truth.
Right.
Okay? It's all tied in. And we're electromagnetic beings. We are electromagnetic as light, as we emit it. Electromagnetic. Love and truth. So as we're emitting this, you know, we have to be honest with ourselves. We actually broadcast in all honesty at all times, you could even say.
Right.
And others can sort out the bullshit with no delay.
Right. Well, is there any basic tips that you thought would be helpful that you didn't, that wasn't included? I know it was kind of comprehensive, but I don't know if you could, I don't know, elaborate on any of the techniques that you've used that you found to be helpful.
Well, you know, they nailed it when they were talking about being honest and being in a positive space. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. And going forward with it with gusto. I mean, really just in that resonance of learning something new, being excited about it, and practicing it true.
Well, it seems like if you've got two humans, that would be way more difficult because one of them might be doing something wrong, right? I mean, if you're connecting with Source, you know, you've only got to worry about yourself. You know, Source is already ready to receive and transmit, and there won't be any issues on the other end, right? Because it's Source, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I think that would be better.
That's your Source is your base reference where you can sort it out. You know, what you're doing kind of awkward or wrong. Yeah, I mean, when you're doing it wrong, you'll feel something negative, something you feel off. You'll feel some pain or something very awkward in your body, in your resonance. Okay? And Source will give you the truest you. Okay? Source always does that, absolute.
Right.
And as you learn, you know, what it is to be the truest you, you can go forward and, you know, introduce. And, you know, it's nothing, you know, to go and introduce yourself to another being. And you just have to realize that, you know, you got to be in that sort of positive, resonant frame of mind where you're being honest with yourself and, you know, grounded, sublime.
Right. Do you have a partner that you, like another human that you can practice with, Todd?
Well, yeah, I have a girlfriend, and we've definitely established some telepathic communications over the years.
Wow, that's
and
cool.
It works pretty well.
Nice.
So I would say that, you know, and it's a whole, you know, you have to realize it's a whole no bullshitting regime. You have to be totally up and honest in your relationship. And I stopped calling it a relationship. I called it a relate. Because I'm not trying to ship anything off to her. I'm just relating.
Right.
So we stopped the ship. Too much bullshit in this world, I think.
Right.
So anyway, that's my you know, my pointers that I got for you. I didn't know the other thing I wanted to commend you on was the BQH sessions. Those were absolutely stupendous.
Oh, thank you so much.
Really,
yeah, I wanted to share them. I'm so glad they allowed it. Yeah, because man, it was it's really a paradigm shift going, you know, learning that and then really getting these little glimpses to the other side, and you feel the energies. I mean, there's no doubt about the love and the caring and the compassion that it's so overwhelming at times. I have to force myself not to cry to stay in the session because it's so powerful, and you can feel the love so strong,
yeah.
you know?
Oh, absolutely. And I had a little thing to offer here.
Mm-hmm.
With the twitching in the nose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, April's actually in here right now.
Yeah. So April had the twitching in the nose.
Yeah.
Well, you lead when you walk forward with your nose.
Mm.
Okay?
Yeah.
So she was walking down the correct path. That's why she had that twitching in her nose.
Ah, I like that.
She wanted to touch her nose because she's walking in the right direction.
Mm.
That's perfectly in center and in alignment with her spirit and her body. Do you understand?
Yeah. Any comments on the twitching in the thumb? Or was that one on the... I don't know if I broadcast it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which thumb? Your left or your right?
It was the left.
Okay, your left, and now this is my experience.
Mm-hmm.
So take it with a grain of salt. Okay, but I'm a man who's bifurcated. I have a left side and a right side, as do probably you.
Right.
Although I've never met you in person, you could just be half a man. I don't know.
Well, if I stand at the mirror the right way, I look complete. So.
Very good, very good. Let's proceed forward. Okay. So the left side of me is the truth side, the feminine side, the real core truth that I keep to me, that is bestowed by Source to be me, the core truth of me. Now, the right side of me, I call my love side. My love side is my male side, and that's the truth that I put out into the world. I'm right-handed, and I shake your hand with my right hand, okay? And I put that love out into the world. It may not be the real truth. I may be shaking you and shysting you. But, hey, we've all had to do what we've had to do.
Right.
So, when you get a twitch in your thumb, you have a thumbs up from the spirit realm. A thumbs up from the spirit realm telling you it's the truth. Absolute in your left-handed thumb.
That's very cool.
Now, if it was in your right-handed thumb, I'd tell you, it's like, yeah, that's the truth. Yes.
Yeah, I want to say that was Megan.
Between the two.
Yeah, I think Megan was the one with the twitching in her thumb. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, April saying thumbs up. Yeah.
These are the keys to clairsentience, the clair words. It's there's so many different words for it. I can't even think of it. But basically, the idea is it's related to telepathy. Okay.
Right.
And when you're feeling and when you tune yourself into Source, Source will sort this out for you in a meditative state when you ask the right questions. Okay? You just have to tell me how I'm being communicated with within my body. And try to correlate that in your conscious thought with your body and your feeling and your sensation and what you're experiencing.
Right.
And oftentimes, it doesn't even occur in meditation because meditation is forced. Source doesn't like it forced. Source likes it in the context of reality because that's where you belong, is in reality.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So meditation is nice for some things, but for other things, sources like, this is kindergarten class here. I'm not going to do kindergarten class. We're going to do the advanced. We're taking you off to high school.
Right. So how do you connect then with Source? Because I'm glad you said that, because I'm totally imagining you going and meditating and connecting with Source and asking questions. But how do you go about it?
Well, let's say I went to high school first, and then I sorted out in meditation afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So basically, I went and experienced these sensations in real life and noted them in real life under actual social situations and honed in on my telepathy skills in those social situations, and then sorted it out on the back end with Source, saying, was that the truth? Is that how you're communicating? And then I get an absolute yes or no, or this or that.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is, it depends, and I don't want to steer anyone in any particular direction, because everybody communicates differently, as that primer said.
Right.
So my method of communication isn't the same as yours, Shane, and that's just because you have a whole different perception of reality. You're unique, and I'm unique, and I can't tell you. I can't dictate to you. You must feel this in your thigh, 3 pulses at this time. No, that's not the way Source works.
Yeah. Well, I was kind of surprised when I was reading that, man, that there was, I kind of thought of myself as a visual learner, but as it gave examples from all of those different categories, visual, audio, spatial, and, touch, kinesthetic, I found myself, I found myself in all of them, at least a little bit,
As do I. Do I. And I would say we're multidimensional beings, and if you didn't sense it for all of them, or, have a feeling that, I do pick up something in kind of all of these areas, that's showing you someplace that you can develop.
Right.
Okay, a future that you can play with as a human being, because we're all human beings here. We all have this ability to learn the big game.
Yeah.
And we were bestowed these bodies in the image of Source, you could say, to learn Source's game.
Yeah. Well, I guess for some people, it's like they're just more of a natural at it. I guess like anything else, singers, dancers, anything. Some people just find it to be more natural to do it. And I think telepathy is no different. I think some people are just naturally connected better, and others of us need to practice a little bit more, I guess.
Well, what I would say is, the big ones that you see on the internet, the big channels, for example, Magenta Pixie, and ones like that, they've honed in on one very good skill and really taken it to a whole new level.
Yeah.
Okay. But they've pushed the envelope for us to take it to that whole new level too.
Right.
Because I'm pretty sure she gets it as an auditory, more or less a dictation.
Right.
I'm not positive on that. She's never really disclosed that, but I would just venture a guess that that's how it is. But it could be more than that, and she just hasn't really spoken to that effect. But that would be a really good question for the future if you ever interview her again.
Right.
Yeah,
another one is Bashar.
Bashar. I mean, there's so many I can't even think of all of them now. But you know, there are many that are, you know, sort of direct channels, and there are many that are sort of indirect channels. Abe Delmar, I don't know if you've come across her. She seems to, yeah, she seems to delve into a little bit of everything as far as how she channels. So, you know, and channeling is a form of telepathy.
Right.
So, you know, it's just one of those things that, you know, you learn to ride a bike one way, and somebody's riding it a different way, and here somebody else comes along in a scooter. You know? Like,
right.
What the heck is that?
Right.
And then you got the skateboarders and the rollerbladers, and oh, geez, man, we have a whole smorgasbord here.
Yeah, but I always appreciate the diversity, you know.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You know, and we're all so unique that we're going to see this. I mean, we're all unique expressions, so we're all going to be expressing differently and impressing differently. So, you know, it's tough to say how it's going to shake out in the end. There's not going to be one way to do it, I can tell you that.
Yeah, definitely.
There's going to be a multitude of ways.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, just like if you just hear anybody's story, it's like we've all kind of arrived at this similar place in completely different paths. And some of us came through religion, some of us knew, you know, that wasn't ever for them, you know, and they just kind of went a different path. But yeah, we all sort of ended up here. And, oh, okay, yeah, people are saying they love Abe Delmar, Marcia. That's cool. Yeah, I'll have to check her out.
Yeah, she's pretty cool. She's got a lot of good stuff, and you know, and it's kind of funny, you know. You have the direct channeling, like she does. You have the QHHT, the BQH, you know, that gets to it in a whole different way. And you know, we all have our own unique talents and fortes. And I just got to say, you know, it doesn't matter. What really matters is we're getting the information out there, and we're all integrating that information, and it's becoming very significant now because we're seeing drastic changes in the context of our reality, which we all welcome with open arms, because it's about time that this whole thing changes.
So do you think it's easier now with the energies and everything to start to do telepathy? I've been just kind of wondering why there's been this huge push for me personally with all these synchronicities. And, you know, and I've played with it before, but maybe things have changed to a point where, you know, we're all going to be able to start doing this much easier than, say, a decade ago.
Here's what I have to say, Shane. We had to reach a certain threshold point where people would be receptive to it. And you were the one that broke the cherry. I don't know if do you read Gaia Portal?
Gaia Portal? No, well, maybe I don't remember it by name.
Okay.
But I'm sure
I
have.
highly recommend Gaia Portal. Because Gaia Portal just came out with a particular statement this week about, you know, telepathy coming about on the grand scale.
Oh, wow.
You were the one that broke it up.
Wow.
You were the one on the internet that did it.
Wow, that's amazing.
So you just know that you are very significant in the spiritual realms.
Oh, thank you, Todd. That means a lot to me. And, you know, they've been bugging me for about 5 weeks, so I guess I felt that big push. And then, like, Michelle had...
Well, you know.
Michelle had taken this week off.
It didn't become a knock in the head.
Yeah, exactly. I got on it, so I got it done. Just in time, it seems. Sometimes we're hard-headed like that. We got our own list of things that, well, I'll get to that, you know, and I kept pushing it back. And, you know, I felt that urge, no, you need to get this done now. And then my schedule started clearing, and I'm like, well, I guess I got time to do this now, so I did it. So if they'll help you if you need it, keep you on track.
Yeah. Well, I just have to say, I read that Gaia portal a couple of days ago, and when it came out, I actually I was like, I wonder how this is going to manifest. And then all of a sudden, Shane comes on with the Telepathy 101 primer. I was like, holy crap, there it is.
Yeah, I'm looking it up now.
And all I gotta say, well, here it is. You only need it's okay. How do I explain this easily? Basically, to create an alignment layer, okay? An alignment layer, I'm a liquid crystal scientist by training. An alignment layer is basically you take a comb and you brush a plastic surface and create ridges, okay?
Okay.
Now, you lay a bunch of liquid crystal molecules on there, and what they do naturally, liquid crystals are elongated like your fingers, okay? The liquid crystals will lay in the ridges and all align in a particular direction. You only need one layer of liquid crystals to go in that direction to align all of the liquid crystals in the ball. Okay? So you don't need that much to align society, Shane. You have a nice, very aligned crowd here that you deal with on a regular basis that are, featured in all of your creations that, basically there's a huge resonance that pretty much everyone that we're speaking with, and I'm part of that, we're all aligned with you and your creations and, can definitely resonate with them.
Right.
And we create that alignment layer for all of society. On the psychic realm, it doesn't take much. We can align the whole bulk just having everyone in this alignment when a particular energetic situation takes place. All we need is a little bit of a pulse.
That's nice to know that it gets back to that whole 100th monkey effect they always talk about, doesn't it?
Yes, exactly. I didn't even want to go there. I wanted to explain it in scientific terms, but that's fine.
Right. That's 3D me wanting to bring the animals into it. But yeah, it's it's sort of a tipping point, but it doesn't take, and I think it's that exponential effect that happens. They say it's only 32 or 33 people that's completely in alignment can actually put enough intention out there for everyone on the planet, because of that, the way it grows exponentially,
Yeah, yep. And that's exactly what we're experiencing right now.
And I'm honored to be a part of that group, thankful.
Hey, yeah, you're rocking the house, man.
We're all rocking the house.
Yeah, did you check out that Gaia portal?
Yeah, I've got it open here, and I did paste it into pasted the link into the chat, so you guys can go check it out too. I will read it later. It looks like the latest one was, May 27th. Is this the latest one?
Yeah.
Fall events of planetary elixirs presents to all. Tools of ascension are grasped by those of earnest. That's May 22nd. I guess it's probably this newest one. I will go and I'll go and check it out because it looks like they got a lot of great information here. Yeah, I wasn't aware of this site.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh. Yeah, Telepathy 101, Jane. Come on. Sorry.
Well, you didn't send. Did you send me it telepathically? I didn't pick it up. I'm still learning. It seems like everybody's got, and I often
I've
think,
been beaming to you the whole time, man.
I often think that, I wish my gifts would come online more, but then I think of where I am, and if I was more into that stuff and better at it, the direction of this channel would be completely different. And I'm where I'm supposed to be, and we're gathering together. And so if I'm a little late for some of that other stuff, I understand why. I see the bigger picture in it all.
Well,
I'm cool with it.
There's a lot of stuff in the big picture, that's for sure.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And people are finally able to come out and talk and stuff. That's wonderful.
Yeah, Gaia Portal basically reads the baseline energetics for the Earth. Okay, for Gaia. And what they communicate are the baseline energetics for Gaia that we experience in a short-term period. So they'll release a little, it's basically, usually 4 or 5 sentences that seem very mysterious, yet when you look at them, and they tend to make up a lot of different words too, which makes it fun, which opens up your telepathic abilities. But, basically it's all tied in. And a lot of what they say is very, very true. And if it's not true right then, it comes true very shortly.
So the idea of manifesting is what you're getting into there?
Well, it's not necessarily manifesting. They're reading the direction of Gaia's manifestations. This isn't necessarily human manifestations. This is what Gaia is saying. And Gaia basically said that someone's going to release something on telepathy that's going to open up a lot of people's eyes. And that's what manifested through you over, the course of this last week.
That's awesome, man. It's like another confirmation. I appreciate you letting me know that.
Yeah, sure. Hey, man, it's all fun.
Yeah, I will definitely check out this Gaia Portal, and I'm sure anybody in the audience will check it out if they didn't know about it already. There's so much to learn about, and I always feel like I'm late to the party with a lot of this stuff, man. It's like, yeah, we knew about that. Like people in the chat, talking about Abe. I'm glad you told me, man.
That's
if
what
you
makes
don't tell
it fun.
Me, yeah, it's like a scavenger hunt for spiritual crystals or nuggets or something, right? But the team is way bigger than we see here. There's so many working towards this new paradigm.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. It's what we're doing here is a very big deal. It's never been done before in the universe, and I will tell you that Earth's position in the universe is very, very unique. We basically have all of these beings here, and I'm not just talking about human beings. I'm talking about all life here. You could say that we are a representation of the macrocosm of life in the universe. And as we're undergoing this ascension process, all life is ascending with us. So this is a very big deal. And, we're kind of linchpin in the whole process.
Well, we're honored to be doing it, though. So, this is the happiest I've been in as long as I could remember, doing what, just living for purpose and seeing the huge impact that we're having, in so many synchronistic little ways, too.
Well, that's the thing. And when you look at the bigger picture of what we're actually doing, and then you consider yourself, I'm not saying you, but anyone, for example, being petty and negative. It's like, how could you be so self-centered and petty and negative when we are accomplishing ascension for all of the creation in this context with what we're doing?
Right.
This is a big freaking deal, and everybody on this earth should be honored with having a body walking around right now, being able to do what they're doing. And I do understand that, certain ones with the negative inclination think that it's cool to just be negative so that they can teach us a lesson. But quite frankly, we've learned enough.
Right. Why is it that people feel like they have to help people learn lessons? I see this all the time, you know, even with the parents and their own kids. You know, well, I told you so. You should have known better, and, you know, you should have listened. And then, you know, I don't know. It's just this weird thing about us as humans.
Well, it's a lot of bad habits that we're overcoming. Mm-hmm. And what I got to say is the positive things that are coming about, the positive things are uplifting us out of this rut. Mm-hmm. You know, we're seeing a much more positive existence, positive way of, you know, looking at things that really takes us out of the rut and, you know, gets us out of that glut.
Well, I got to ask you while I got you on here, what is probably the most profound thing you've gotten from Source in any of your telepathic sessions, Todd?
Well, profound. I'm unique.
Mm-hmm. That you're unique?
That's about the most... Yeah, that's about the most profound thing that I've gotten.
Yeah, let me think about that for a second. That's deep.
Anywhere else. I don't exist anywhere else in all of the creation.
That's right. There might be someone similar to you that looks similar to you and has similar interests, but you'll never find anybody just like you, will you, Todd?
Nope.
It's like fingerprints. Yeah, even down to the fingerprint, even, you know, DNA and all that stuff.
And that in and of itself, I think, is something to take away. You know, that's something that I'm very happy that the Creator created me to be unique.
Right.
You know, I wouldn't want it any other way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like I was saying earlier about diversity, it's a beautiful thing, you know, and so often we want to divide over differences. But, you know, if we keep dividing over differences, we'll all be individuals by ourselves, right?
Yep.
Because when it comes down to it, no one else is out there that believes exactly like you believe, and they're just like you. We're all, you know, our own individuals, individual fragments of Source.
The thing.
Yeah.
You know, Abe Delmar actually talks about this as a soup. And, you know, we're all in this great ascension soup.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all these unique little flavors in the whole palette of the soup.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that I would presume Source is drinking. I don't know, but anyway.
It's fine. I'm looking at, let's see. Terry says, we are all one of a kind. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that, yeah. So beautiful.
Well, anyway, Shane, I don't want to detract from anyone else's input tonight, so
well, I
pretty
appreciate
much
you calling
exhausted everything I wanted to talk about.
Well, I do appreciate you calling in and checking back in with us, Todd. It's always a pleasure, my friend.
All right. Thanks a lot, Shane. And everyone, thank you. I learned so much from all of you. And keep those BQH sessions up. Those are really awesome and fun.
Oh, yeah, they are. Yeah, thank you so much, Todd. Lots of love, buddy. Have a good one. Okay, bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Your calls, your stories, on air. You're listening to the Love Stream.
Sharing the love and spreading the light all around the world. This is Unbiased and On the Fence. All right, gonna go back to the phone lines. Whoops, nobody on the phone lines. Anybody want to call in? Please do so at 605-562-0444 and enter show ID 1477973. Or you can join from the website, of course, at talkshoe.com/show/Love Street. Okay. I want to thank everybody for the support. I really appreciate it. Dustin with the elf dance party. Thank you, my man. Appreciate you. Bruce is going to call in, it looks like. Awesome. Yeah, I think you were going to call in a different time, weren't you, Bruce, and you didn't make it through or something? Yeah, there is international numbers, you guys, but if for some reason that doesn't work, you can just join on the website. I think that'd be easier. If you have a computer with speakers and a mic, then you can communicate that way. Or if you're actually on your phone, you can call in and save on your data if you have data issues and just listen that way. It's sort of a behind-the-scenes way of listening. And then the people that do want to speak can just raise their hands. Let's see here. Trying to see here if... Let me see if Shiny's able to check in really quick from Contact in the Desert. That would be so cool. I wanted to go this year, but hopefully next year. She sent me some cool pictures this morning of her setup. She's got a pickup truck with a tent in the back of it, and she was showing me shots out of her tent this morning, and it looks so exciting. She said the weather was really nice. I think we got a bunch of great people about to go on now. Coming up is, let's see, coming up, I think, yeah, they actually David Wilcock, Clifford Mahudi. Man, that would suck if you wanted to see two different people that's on at the same time, because it looks like there's all of these different workshops, and it would just be difficult. You have to bounce back and forth between a few different ones. Okay. Oh, sorry, get your name off the screen there, Todd. Gonna go back to the phone lines. 405. Who am I talking to? You're live.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Is this me live now?
This is you live now. There is a delay, so you won't hear it on the radio. You might want to...
Oh, good. This is Carrie. It took me a minute to figure out how to do this again, since it's been, several weeks since I did it.
No problem. So how are you doing, Carrie? This is Carrie Camp, you guys, from the chat. Cancer survivor.
Well, hi, guys.
Trucking along,
yeah.
doing her thing.
Thank you. I am trucking along. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
I just feel, I feel this huge energy wave, big time, all kinds of roller coasters of emotions. But I do believe that's because I'm detoxing, and I just wanted to give you an update on my mercury removal, which was the 21st of May, and I had 7 fillings. So it was a 5-hour ordeal, and I'm told that it takes possibly 2 to 3 months to get all the mercury out of my system. But here's the awesome thing, is I do have a visual cancer mole, and I'm embarrassed to say, but actually I'm excited to say that it's on my breast, which is kind of a pun, because me having breast cancer, I'm not even supposed to be here or have the girls. But the awesome thing about this is that from the time of the removal, which has just been, how many days? 10 days? But the mole, it had turned into a really offensive, gross, ugly mole that was a thick crust, and it's almost gone. And that's just been 10 days. So that's a praise report in itself. I just wanted to say that was awesome, that I can see a visual, which I know the outside healing that fast. I know the inside is healing. So that in itself is very exciting, and it keeps me in a vibration. And I haven't got, my goal is to sit down and play the piano, and to learn how to play it, I should say that. But I want to tell you, and I think all the empaths out there are going to what I do to feel good is to watch AGT, American's Got Talent. And if you haven't seen that young man, Cody Lee, who's autistic and blind, that little boy played the piano and sung a song in the most awesomest way. And I'm so tickled he got the golden buzzer, and that lady that did that was saying how he's going to change the world on people who have the limitations that young man has and can turn his spirit into song like he did and play the piano blind. That young boy is blind. When I watched him, I realized I can learn the piano. I know I can. I have just have the ADD, fight or flight, PTSD roller coaster of moments that was very much affected by my nervous system, which was constantly, they say each time you chew, you release mercury poison in your mouth. And that, and I grind my teeth because I'm in spinal pain big time. My back hurts all the time. But, and I'm becoming more aware, and I love, I'm embarrassed I can never pronounce it right, but Shri and Curry, see, I say that wrong, but the Oneness Show, they're speaking of the healing powers that we have, and, I just derailed myself. That I'm having a serious ADHD moment.
Oh, no problem. I did want to remind people from what you said before, though, in case they haven't seen it, is the root cause, and it really explains about the mercury filling and how harmful it is and why you want to get it out of your mouth if you do have mercury, because it can poison you, it can cause brain damage and all sorts of stuff.
Absolutely, and I've had a learning disorder since 2008, and that's when I got the first root canal. And then I had the botched surgery, and so my body never healed, and I had repeated MRSA infections. My body wouldn't heal. I had that and when they took that crown out, it was more metal than it was ceramic, and my stomach disorder has improved, and it was a stomach tooth that they took the dead root out. But and I also want to say that when I first got cancer, I checked into the Mexico clinics, and I had a consult with 2 different doctors, and they don't even recommend that you spend $18,000 for 3 weeks if you don't have your mercury and root canals removed, because you're wasting your money. You're fighting. You don't have the root cause. You don't have the root challenge. So, but the ultimate part of this, and I didn't. What I wanted to share about Cody is I'm just so excited for his mother, and just for the impact that little man is going to have on the world, because music is, and that's why I know that's the rest of my healing journey, is getting the praise and worship and focusing on that. And I believe once I get that direction, my challenge is to get through the day without saying the F word that's unacceptable. And I hate that word, but it's the helpless, hopeless word that flies out of my mouth when I get offended. And I get offended all the time because people don't understand me. And that's, I always say that's my fault, and I was just trying to explain to Jeff today, is I get it that I volunteered. I know I'm a volunteer. All my life I have done Cub Scouts and hospice volunteer. In my heart, I thought God put us here to help each other, and I've always had that. So when I start learning from all the people that explain that light workers are volunteers, and it's hard to accept that you did volunteer for this mission, and it's going to be rough. And the dark night of the soul, learning what all that means, is so crucial in the roller coaster of emotions that's happening. People have that distraction, other function. If you're on a mission to do something good, you're going to get bombarded with all kinds of bad. So that's why I think in my heart of hearts is that my impact, and I think I can talk about it. I'm very excited that I got the Kepro report in the mail. And those of you who don't know who KEPRO is, they are the governing agency for quality control for our Medicare treatment. And going back to where this is coming from is that a doctor's office did a HIPAA violation, which was they made me talk about my personal business in the waiting room while I had a Blue Cross and Blue Shield representative on the phone. And that lady heard the violation, and she had to file the complaint because she overheard it. And when she filed it, that triggered this paperwork coming from KEPRO. And I'm like, who's KEPRO? And this all looks like I need legal help. And I tried to get an attorney to assist me with the simple paperwork. And when I first called about it, I was told I had 2 years to fill out the paperwork. And they give you this little 3-inch paragraph that says, briefly describe what happened. Well, I couldn't briefly describe it because it was traumatic. It turned into over 400 pages. But it became, to me, it became 12 exhibits, and the 12th exhibit is my research. It's my book list. It's all the people that said your body can heal itself if you detox from all the elements that cause cancer, which is your environment, your emotions, and the most important, your food and your water. So learning those things, I have survived cancer. But now I am, 150% sure that a huge factor in my recovery has been cannabis. The protocol I was on in Colorado, I wasn't able to do that. When I moved back for 9 months, I was off of it, and my cancer numbers started going in the wrong direction. My tumor became very painful, and the stress was huge. But getting the mercury out and seeing the visual in the improvement of the exterior cancer, I know in my heart that God is in control. Everything is in a row. I have written more songs in my head that I'm so excited. I can't wait. I do believe somewhere there's a way to sing a song. And if anybody knows this, where there's an app that will help you write the music to the song that you just sung, and trying to learn how to put it to a piano. Not even, I haven't even turned on my keyboard since I've been here to learn how to play that, so I could to learn it by ear. I don't have any of those skills, but I see they're going to happen when since I got the trauma of the medical part, and I get it that we have a broken healthcare system, and I don't have a place. I don't fit in there. But I want this report, which I have sent to, I'm going to pronounce it wrong, Seema Verma is the CEO of Medicare Medicaid. And if any of you people are AARP age, where you might read that magazine, and you don't, you will someday. But she, there was an article where she was telling what's happening in the future for Medicare Medicaid. And of course, mostly those issues are all about pharmaceutical assistance, which, we do need that, but that's not the only way to have health care is pharmacy, and that's part of my mission to try to say, why do we have, if we don't want to do chemotherapy, to have our blood work done? And I'm hoping to be able to reach out to all the authors of the books that have helped me learn autonometry. I can't even say the word right now. Optometry, that's the word. Because we do have that intuition, and it's a matter of being introduced to the information. And number one is getting past the fear. Once you have that diagnosis, your brain shuts down from fear if you don't grasp that and look towards all the survivors. You're not really introduced to all that unless you look for it. But there are so many books. Radical Remission is an awesome book, but my I give a lot of credit to Chris Wark, who does have a square one, ABC, here's things to consider, and explain how to detox your household, your foods, and the proper things to eat, blah, blah, blah. And I really appreciate him because he puts a big emphasis that you really need a relationship, a spiritual relationship, and not one that, I mean, just you have to develop a prayer conversation.
What was his name again? Did you say Chris Ward?
Chris Wark. It's Chris Beat Cancer is his website. Square One is his routine. But before I met Chris Wark, I had read Pearson Therapy, and and actually it was the C movie. The C movie, the C Word. Is that what it is? Yeah, the C Word, and it's narrated by Morgan Freeman. That was my first introductory, and I was so impressed. But then I got angry because, my gosh, it was published, I think, in 2015, and that's old information, but it's acted like it's not, that's foreign or brand new, but it's old, meaning that I had never heard about the other side of the world besides chemotherapy, that there was another world out there. But being introduced to it, each one, and then learning, my gosh, the hard way that these people that were teaching us that there are cures are all ran out of the United States. And then not even understanding that if you don't follow the recommendations, I was always afraid of that word non-compliant because I didn't know what it meant. Well, you do lose your rights. You get fired right and left by your doctors because what becomes non-compliant is you don't follow their recommendations, and the only thing they know how to recommend is that I said you should take this pill, and if you don't want to take that pill, you need to hit the road. And that's just crazy, ludicrous crazy.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, and that's my latest song is It Is What It Is, Doesn't Have to Be. The world is controlled by chemotherapy, and it doesn't have to be that way. But I don't want to sing the whole thing. I'm embarrassed myself to death because it's not done. But it will be. It's in form. But I think I can better because of my ADHD and PTSD and that issue with the run-on sentences that talk about 17 things in the middle of them. I think I can focus better what I'm trying to say in a song instead of trying to, well, I'm still going to write my book. I'm so close to getting that together better. And that's where I'm not going to push myself because I'm giving this, my brain power thing, more time to heal from the mercury because it went through a serious shock. In fact, my right arm was paralyzed. I had to pick it up to move it. I mean, I have a C4 and C5 deteriorated disc in my neck where they want to take a bone out of my hip and put it in my neck, which that's been since 2015, and I won't do it because I'm doing chiropractic care and all my holistic stuff. So point of that is that having your mouth open for 5 hours, that aggravated that area, and that's where fear and attack comes in, is because the McCoy who fired me and who did all that stuff, he told me the next time that my arm did that, it would be permanent, and that he kept trying to say you really need to do that surgery because the next time your arm goes numb, you're going to lose, your. So that's why I was scared when that happened in Colorado. When I was attacked by my landlady, my arms went numb. I couldn't feel them. And I was terrified that I would be stuck in Colorado with no help with these crazy people. But anyway, of course that didn't happen because God has Gideon's army taking care of me. Because he's got something really big planned for me. And if I didn't feel that excited about it, I might as well just cash in. But I don't feel that way. I feel real excited that God has a plan for me to help my grandchildren and everybody else's grandchildren not be in this paradigm of it is what it is, it's chemotherapy or else, or out. That's Well, see, here's the thing: is you only can get financial support if you go to the chemotherapy land. Anyone who does it holistically, you get zero help. And the thing is that the holistic doctors and naturopaths and all those, of course, are not covered by insurance, and they're very limited to what they can do with medical tests and what they can write. So there's a huge catch-22 to where just wealthy people that have enough common sense to research all this, and they can go to the Mexico clinics, or they can go to the holistic doctors and have a better chance, because it's not just a matter of what doctor you go to, it's what if you apply the information that you learn, and that's where it gets into intuition. And there's a lot of information out there, tons of information, and it does become confusing, but that's just when you have to stop and you pray and you follow your heart on which direction to go, because there is no formula of one size fits all when it comes to cancer. And it's a matter of applying everything that you can possibly afford and that you feel. And you feel this by learning from other survivors. That's the whole key, is learning from people who want to share, this is how I did it, and this is how people survive. And the most awesome thing about Chris Wark is that he interviews many survivors. I mean, we're talking 20 years, 15 years, which is and these are stage 4 and 5 of many different types of cancer, which all of that means is hope. There's hope out there. And if people don't have hope, well, you're just not going to heal or survive. You can't if you don't have hope.
And it's hard to do that when you're just listening to the doctor's grim report, isn't it?
Exactly. Every single doctor's appointment issue, those doctors tried to present to me that, oh, you have some spots on your bones, and we're going to do another PET scan, and another this, and another that, and I'm sure it's metastasized, and the whole thing is fear factor, and rising above the fear of brain cancer, the fear of bone cancer, and then when in Colorado, those test results show I had spots on my lungs for a month. The doctor in La Junta, I'm telling you, when I went to him to review the results from the Colorado, all those test reports, and it showed these spots, I felt so sorry for him. He twitched and twiddled in his chair and started talking about how he had planted these different grass, and he spent all this time out in his yard, and he didn't even want to talk to me about the spots on my results, because he kept telling me I really needed to do something. I really needed to do surgery. I really needed to take action. And he was so frightened for me because of what he knew, his knowledge. And separating from when you're an empath and you feel everyone's, I mean, my God, you say the word cancer and everyone around you, you feel, and I constantly say, but it's good, I'm winning. I'm like 6 months past my death sentence. It's okay. And I try to reassure them because I feel their pain. I want you to be excited, please, because I can feel you not be. So that's my challenge in life, trying to learn how to not absorb all the energy around me. And that's difficult to do when we're in all these waves. But learning and hearing the different people that you have on your talk shows, I love the shift. I love all the things that explain that what I'm experiencing is not all by myself. The ringing in the ears has been wild. The headaches has been wild. But a lot of that is I'm going through an extra detox, which I hope a lot of people are not going through. So, I mean, but my energy or vibrations, meridians, the whole thing is still going through transition. And I do feel like a butterfly. I have a butterfly shirt on today, but I am going in through transformation. And when I'm done, which is going to be, I mean, just like days, I'm going to just sit down and play the piano like I've done it all my life. That's what I decided.
Well, one of the things that was so heartbreaking when I was talking to you about your interactions with the doctors is how they seem to push you off and put you off and just thinking, you know, well, she'll be dead pretty soon. I won't have to deal with that. And I mean, that's heartbreaking to go to these professionals and be treated in such a way. And for a lot of people that don't have a group like this or a group like you, is this name Chris Work, like W-R-O-R-K, or how do you spell his last name?
W-A-R-K.
W-A-R-K.
W-A-R-K. Wark.
Okay.
Yeah. And Chris beat cancer is easy to remember. Just he has websites that take you to square one and introduce, and his books on Audible as well as the hardback. So, of course, I love Audible. I listen to books every day, and that's how you rebuild your brain. My brain, anyway. It's and that I even listened to twice this book, an Audible book on how to play the piano. Can you get that? But she even, you know, so I haven't sat down at the piano while I listen to it to walk through it, but it's introducing me to get ready to shift gears, so I can. If there's an easier app that says the miracle of listen to this and you'll learn how to play the piano, I'm all for suggestions.
Yeah, I know there's YouTube videos that you can look up, learn piano, and it shows you the keyboard and the different buttons you push. So there's that route you can go. I know my daughter uses that all the time. She'll just pick a song she wants to learn, or, you know, type in there learn piano and then pick a song out of what sort of comes up. And then Michelle, I'm not sure, I'll have to talk to Michelle Wolf. I know she's learning the piano and she uses something. I'm not sure if it's an app or if she's just doing the YouTube video thing. But yeah, there's definitely resources out there to help you learn. And like my daughter, she plays fabulous and has never taken an official lesson. You know, she just has learned, and she even did like a little recital at school this past school year, and you know, everyone loved her. So it's awesome. I wanted to ask you really quick, Carrie. Because Susan here is in the chat, and she's in the area here in Oklahoma. Is there a doctor you would recommend for the mercury removal, or a way for people to search for a doctor that does that?
I'm telling you, when I thought I was going to have to go out of the state for it. I didn't even know that we had a holistic doctor or dentist, but it's Dr. Colpitts in Tulsa, C-O-L-P-I-T-T-S. Colpitts is the only one I know in Oklahoma.
Oh wow!
And that do you know who Jerry Tennant is?
No, not right offhand.
Jerry Tennant, he is an author. He's a wonderful doctor of Healing is Voltage, and he teaches that. He teaches actually what teeth go along your meridian, what your eye tooth and your stomach tooth. Those, they all connect to your entire nervous system. But I called his. They're in Texas. And that's, I believe he is behind a lot of phytoplankton. If any of you have resources to look up phytoplankton, that is another very awesome supplement for. Tom Harper is the one who invented that, and he is a cancer survivor, but he's got an awesome story. I won't go into all that. But where I got off on is that Jerry Tennant with Voltage of Healing is the one. I called their office, and they're the ones that told me about Dr. Colpitts. And Dr. Colpitts' office, when I called to make my appointment, they're the ones that told me about The Root Cause on Netflix. And then Dr. Colpitts gave me a book that Dr. Levy wrote, and Dr. Levy used to be an attorney, but he's now he's in Kansas, but he teaches all about the toxicity in your teeth and the connection with all the disease, cardiac. I mean, everything is connected to toxins. Do you know, they even say that if you have, I believe, 2 fillings taken out and you put them in the 20-acre lake, that it would contaminate the fish in it. But and when they do take out the mercury, everyone had haphazard masks on. They had special machines in the room to take the mercury out of your mouth. Now, does this make sense? But they leave that mercury in your mouth to where each time you chew, it releases the toxins, but to get it moved out, and that's the most craziest concept that we have fallen into of not grasping and it's still, there's such a controversy because it's going to impact the dental world. And the dental world is another area that is so misrepresented to us as people. The insurance coverage, that world is so scary because, and it affects your well-being. Your dental health is the key to your longevity. But people put dental health on the back burner because it's barely covered by insurance. You only have $2,000 a year usually. Dental work is way over that. So your teeth get rotted out and it deteriorates your whole body. And that's what I'm dealing with poor Jeff right now. He has just had all of his teeth removed because he didn't take care of them because he never had insurance or time. Anyway, his excuses. But my point is, a lot of people don't have the funds because insurance and that part of the world is the most untaken care of for people. There's I'm gonna try that in chiropractic care. That is the other key of keeping your spine aligned that will help your longevity, but it's the least amount covered by insurance. They try to tag it as quackery still. And there's so much involved in educating people the importance of those two things, dental and chiropractic. And they're the least amount covered and the least amount taught, you know.
Right.
I know where that came from.
So if people want to find a doctor, they can do a search for, or a dentist, they can do a search for a holistic dental provider in their area, or what would you suggest?
Yeah, and you know, well, I would suggest just look up Dr. Colton.
Right, but I mean, just, you know, we have a global audience, so I just mean for,
yeah.
elsewhere.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Sorry.
I think I only got a dozen people in our area, so, but yeah, that's...
Yes, I get that. The word isn't holistic. Biological dentist, it's a different wordage. I wouldn't have known to look up that word.
Right.
But I think it's biological dentist.
Okay.
But if you say holistic as well, I think it'll bring up biological.
Or maybe just mercury removal dentist might bring something up too. Yeah. Did that the movie on Netflix, The Root Cause, does that have any kind of contact information, like a website or a directory that people can go look up and find anybody? Do you remember?
No, it's an Australia film.
Oh,
The Root Cause is the people that made that were from Australia. That's why I want to do a root cause in America.
Right.
I think the root cause is not just dental, mercury, it's what the whole thing explained, is that I believe in anybody I believe the HIPAA Act is behind so many wrongful deaths because how they supposedly protect our healthcare information has gotten so bizarre, and sharing it with the important people and then finding out how is it shared through all of these portal systems. So every doctor has their own portal system and the staff doesn't even know how to work them, let alone the doctors. But how your information is shared, and that was the ADD traveling into that direction again. That part, making that change, I want to build a portal system where it follows you, like your credit card, that is uploaded into each one of those particular portal systems. And I know it, all the flag warnings are going about hacking and yada yada. And you know what? I read an article in AARP that was so much against that kind of activity, and they immediately said, oh, well, somebody could hack in there and make the wrong information and kill you. Well, you know what? That may be possible, but I'm saying our money is under a lot of security, and the potential of anything being hacked is out there. And that's, what's different about you dying accidentally that way than being like my aunt they simply, well, they gave her too much morphine, but they were watching her heart. She had a pacemaker instead of her actual monitor, and they didn't. Well, she passed away, and it was a wrongful death. And where I'm going with that did have to do with the morphine. We were trying to tell her what was too much morphine, which we knew if they gave her one, that she stopped breathing, and her orders were for 0.5 to 1, and each time they brought her morphine, they brought her the high dose, and they did have her hooked up to all these machines. They was hooked up to breathing machines, and they could monitor when her breathing stopped. But for some reason, I don't know why, but that day they didn't have her on her oxygen machine. And I'm sorry I went that direction, but wrongful deaths in the HIPAA Act and the protection of our medical records, and why that's important is she was in the Stillwater Hospital. They took her off her liver. She was in the ER. They took her off all her medicines, transferred her to the Oklahoma City office. Her records are here. There's not there, and all the doctors aren't touching base. This ER doctor, for some reason, thought he had the authority to take her off of her transplant liver medicine. And it's all the doctors, it's all about the medical records being shared. In I know it's a complicated world out there in the medical world, but I also know that there is a better way. There has to be a better way. And if we don't try to think of a better way, we're stuck with it. It is what it is. And I just believe there's people like myself who had multiple issues going on, 25 different doctors, and then when I go to a new doctor, I'm the one filling out the paperwork right before you see them. And they're asking dates on when you had this done and that done, and I can barely remember my address. And so they're building a patient portal system based on what I could remember. Why isn't that transferred from A to B to C already? Instead of me sitting there saying, well, I saw this doctor and that doctor, and okay, well, let me write to them and get the medical records. What is that about? Why isn't our medical records with us? That's the most critical thing about it.
Yeah, everything's so compartmentalized that makes it difficult, really, for the patient more than anything. And, that HIPAA Act is sort of presented like it's to protect you, but like Dustin here pointed out, who's also in the medical field, it's really to protect the pharmaceutical company and the doctors,
But this is what's hilarious, not hilarious, but a synchrodestiny. I love Deepak Chopra. Is that I'm searching to fill out these Kepro reports, and I don't even know what a HIPAA violation is. I'm trying to Google it. What is a HIPAA violation? What is the HIPAA Act? And then I come across the federal docket that they're asking. It's a RIF, Request for Information from the Public, about the HIPAA Act. And I read through the whole thing, and it was exactly what I have been saying. It was talking about all of the warehousing of our information and the sharing of it between the different, we should be sharing the chiropractor, the dentist, everything about your body should be in your file because it's a holistic issue. If you have had a root canal, these doctors should know because someday when they get all together on the same page, to know that could be part of the problem that you have breast cancer because you've had all this other stuff done, but nobody connects the dots as a whole system, that we are a whole body, but they all act like, well, immediately, that's not my area, and that's not my area. In fact, what I'm dealing with Jeff right now, he has a cyst on the pancreas. He has a lesion he has stage 4 liver cirrhosis, and I'm the one that had to insist today to please do a pancreatic liver cancer marker test. They promised me they would do it. We get the lab work done. They didn't do it. We go visit the doctor today, and I'm asking them, and all along, I want you to know that he's had MRIs, he's had ultrasounds, he's had CAT scans, and they say the word indifferent. And then they say, oh, well, we're going to just follow it and do another MRI, another $2,000 in 3 months. It's indifferent. But his liver marker is up, and the pancreas, he has a cyst. But it's only 3 millimeters, and it's not big enough to do anything, so they're not going to test to see if it's cancer yet or not. We're just going to play the game that, you know, the whole part. So I'm saying, which doctor, if it's pancreatic, which doctor follows that? Well, it'd be the surgeon, if it goes that direction. And here's what they say: be warned, if they do the it's a 19-9 PSA, I think, for the pancreatic test. It could be a false reading. And if it is a false reading, we need to let you know that that's going to mean we need to do all these other tests. Well, no, that's BS. We need a marker to say the pancreas issue, because his liver marker is like 17 and 6 is normal, but they act like that's no big deal because it's not in the 400s, which would qualify him for chemotherapy or a PET scan. They still have not done a PET scan, and I did an HGC test, which is a urine test. Navarro is, people research that. That's a $55 test. It's a UA test that you mail off, and it will tell you your cancer score. And if it's 50 and above, you have cancer, and we all have cancer cells. And it's just a marker saying that it is in a danger zone and you need to take action, because it could be up in the 900s. And thank God mine is only like in the 51 or 2. So I'm just barely there, but it correlates with my C15, my breast cancer blood work. So I believe in it 100%. But what I'm telling you is that I did that on Jeff when I first got here, and his cancer score is higher than mine. So I know his cancer cells are elevated in the danger zone, and I thank God that he is following as much holistic protocol. We do juicing, we do all the Dearson stuff, and so I'm thrilled. We went to the doctor today. His liver cirrhosis, his ALC and ALT, his scores are normal. And when he started, they were up in 174, and now it's like down to 21. And that's just in a few months. So he is healing. There you go. Praise God. He's doing great, and we don't have to go back for 6 months. And so his lesion has grown, but the fact, here's what we learned today. This cracks me up. The radiologist says that it could have been it's growing, or it could have been the technique on how the machine was working that day. He wasn't sure, so let's do it again in 3 months. There was no clarity. They still say it's indifferent. They don't know if it's cancer or not. They can't tell. And then there you have the liver marker showing that his cancer score is elevated. But you know what? That could be because he has liver cirrhosis. And there's no clarity. There's no, but none of that matters because all of his blood work, he's doing great. The only thing that was elevated was glucose. But that we do juicing and carrots and stuff, and that's going to make that spike a little bit. So I am thrilled. He is doing super.
Well, what's the main thing for people who coincidentally came across this video and they're listening to this now? I don't believe it's an accident. So what regimen? You said you did the juicing. I've heard of what other types of things? Or did you have a source that you got your information about how you should treat it? Probably a lot of sources, right? But I guess the main things that helped you, that if anybody's listening, they'll know what to search for or who to look up or what book to read.
Well, hang on just a second. I'm going to tell you the first book that, and you know, my original book was going to be Victory Through Forgiveness, a story navigated by angels, because angels have been my best friends through this whole ordeal, and I just think that they send me from one book to the next. You know, it's just, that's what But the first book I read is called Cancer is Not a Disease. It's a survival mechanism. And, well, actually the rest of it is discover cancer's hidden purpose and heal its root causes and be healthier than ever. And it's by Adrius, Moritz. Moritz. I'm sure I pronounced his name wrong, but that book taught me so much. And it's all about, and it's very much in relation with New German medicine, is that most people who have cancer have had an emotional trauma. And mine, being breast cancer, I had a trauma losing my children. And so that made so much sense. And so did the man who wrote New German medicine area explained he had a loss of a son too. And so, but men express the emotions differently, of course, than women. But anyway, I went from that book, and then the Gerson therapy. When I researched the Gerson therapy, I did a lot of that on video as well, and there's clinics in Sedona. I almost went to that one, but it was $18,000, and I had a $20,000 life insurance policy that I decided to stretch out and apply all the things that I learned that they were going to do there. In the Mexico clinics, I had consults with those doctors and listened to all the things that they did. And I did the ozone therapy for a long time, and I do juicing still, 100% on the juicing. And I know it's a weird and controversial to many people, but learn about coffee enemas because they are the most natural way to detox your liver. And it's, in fact, TMI here, but Jeff had a colonoscopy yesterday, and they had to remove some polyps. And I had to ask the doctor, I said, I need to know about how long that would take to heal because we do the coffee enemas. And I wished I'd had a movie camera to his facial expression and his body language when he sat up straight. And he said, well, I'm open to learning new things, but I've heard drinking coffee can do that, but you had to wait, at least 2 or 3 weeks or longer, but his behavior cracked me up. But, and the first thing I said is, I know it's different. It's one of those things, but it is an unpleasant subject, but it is something worth researching because so many people have survived on it. And actually, Max Gerson, it's a pain management thing. Well, he was taught it for migraine headaches and many things. But anyway, another book that will help is Radical Remission, and it's Surviving Cancer Against All Odds, and it's Kelly Turner. But she interviews many success stories, and she encourages, and she has a website that is a support system, but encourages people to learn from other survivors. And she's the one trying to get doctors to document more. And here's the funny part, after I'd read a book and it says, ask your doctor, of course I'd go to the doctor and ask them if they would document my case, and that's when the oncologist said, well, I was the author of that book. No, he didn't want anything to do with documenting that I'm still alive. But I don't know that I have time for me to read my whole list. I'm just going to scan through here to say the most important ones.
Also, I did want to mention a few people chimed in with some books and advice in the chat, so you might want to go back and see. It might be on your list already, because I'm sure you've read a ton of stuff.
I love new books. I love to keep going, because that's how I survive. Oh, and the thing about there are many different resources and learning. I just wanted to throw out there to check into hydrogen peroxide and baking soda and of course, there are many good books on the cannabis protocol.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a very big advocate. And DMSO is another, it's an element that helps, it's like a skin barrier, and it helps you absorb, but it is something you have to learn about because it is a tool, and it can be, and any of this can be done wrong if you don't learn how to do it right.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So yeah, there's a lot of resources out there. It's just knowing where to look and sifting through. Sometimes there's so much information, it's hard to, really hone in on what will work best in any particular situation. So you've given us some great resources to check out. And
well,
yeah.
Oh, and I just went brain dead for a minute, but not to underemphasize or overemphasize, but there is a place that's very important to find your spiritual niche.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I have so many books that, Deepak Chopra, I can't even pronounce these names very well. I'm not very good at that. But the Synchronicity and Synchrodestiny, those
mm-hmm.
books, and all of them that talk about that you can heal your own body. But it's difficult to learn. I try to simplify it myself, and I'm trying to get wordage to where eventually I'm going to be able to do videos so I can talk to my grandchildren about what I've done, so
mm-hmm.
that they have a chance on their own. But just learning the keys about vibration, about everything is vibration, and learning that staying in the spirit where you're thinking positive makes your blood flow towards your heart, and it makes it in a healing place. But when you think bad things, and that's when you feel your stomach getting bad, or you feel nervous, or you feel angry, or negative. And those emotions that cause anxiety makes your blood flow away from your heart and causes inflammation. And if you could grasp that concept and learn that you're in control of your thought process, you can recognize, because your body is going to tell you. And this is where Molecules of Emotion. I love Candace Pert because she gave the basics of how and how your body reacts. Your body's talking to you. If you're tense, if your blood's flowing the wrong direction, that's causing disease. You got to straighten yourself up and shift out of that and go look outside at the cute little squirrels running around in the backyard, or the beautiful birds. I've got so many cool birds. The birds in the life in my backyard is how I shift my, when I feel upset or get one of those lovely bill collector calls that, tend to where they make you feel like you're low life living off of them,
Right.
And shifting out of those emotions is my daily challenge, and where you can move forward and realize what that serenity prayer is so awesome, because there's so many things that circumstances are beyond your control, and learning how to react to them where your body doesn't cause disease is how the key to longevity. It's that simple.
Now, I've heard the benefits of cannabis, not only pain management, but also it can help with appetite, because a lot of times when you're sick, you just don't feel like eating, and of course you need to eat, and you need to fuel your body up. What other benefits have you seen from cannabis besides that? Anything? Or is that the primary ones for you?
Well, yeah, because I have spinal stenosis in my L4 and 5 in the bottom are they curve the wrong way. I can't say that word. It's like, the whole page long, spondyl or whatever. But the point being is that when you're in a lot of pain, you tense. So cannabis just smoking cannabis relaxes my entire body. So to me, it is a pain management. And if you haven't, I mean, the whole world knows I had ADHD. But
me too. Welcome to the club.
It's an embarrassing challenge, but you know what? So many people that do the over. I mean, they would call it monkey brain, but my favorite game is chess, and it's like I'm always playing chess. There's always 400 things going on in my mind, and I'm watching all the pieces on the board, and it's kind of embarrassing sometimes, but you can make it productive.
Oh yeah.
If you can multitask, and I know they say you can't get anything done if you're doing 400 things, but sometimes you do get 5 things done when you're doing 500.
Well, I've noticed that, if you have something to focus on, it's not so bad. It's like if you've got that drive, and you've been a huge inspiration to see all that you've accomplished and all that, just, gosh, you've made it through so much. And I've seen your stacks and your stacks of paper and all your research and the Kepro report, and it really is inspiring to see you've done so much. And, yeah, I think it's great.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And I just don't mean to sound mushy-mush, but I appreciate you having the outlet that you do. I am inspired by your speakers. I am inspired by your enthusiasm, because I think we're all here to help each other. And as long as we have that like-mindedness, that moving forward, I think that gives us all a stronger motivation and bond. And because it's not always great, there are times it's struggle. And when it's struggle and you have somebody else explaining that, well, just like during my little meltdown today, I had one little meltdown, but I realized what it is, and I can, okay, this is a really serious ADHD, but this is back to see, why can't I say their names? The oneness show.
Oh, Shri and Kira, yeah.
Thank you, Shri. Why does my brain do that? Shri and Kira, about becoming an observer. That's where I am really trying to give them credit. By them explaining about observing now instead of reacting and being in it, but becoming, that's another level of understanding, to be able to do that instead of the roller coaster I have of third dimension, fifth dimension, the spiritual, physical part, and that's all kind of controlled. It's a catch-22. When I'm in physical pain, then I'm down, and then I think of the family issues, and then I'm down, and then I have to and then I get real excited when I switch over here. I'm going to learn how to play the piano. I'm going to make a difference for my grandkids. I'm going to, it's that's part of the duality of the journey when you're facing this kind of a dark night of the soul thing. It's difficult to stay in the spirit when you have physical pain, and that's why I feel with all my heart when I start playing the piano, I'm not going to feel any pain. You can't feel pain when you have vibrations and music going on. And I have so many songs I am excited about that I know the rest of my healing is very close. I just do.
Healing through music.
Oh, thank you.
I like that.
Do what?
I said healing through music. Not only listening, but creating it, It's beautiful.
Why? That's why I hope to be able to inspire others with my songs, because, knowing God is in control, that's the most important thing to keep remembering, and it's faith. This journey is a lot of faith, and you have to have faith that He's going to guide you in the right direction. And that success story is one that comes from your heart and your mind together, but not having, one thing I cannot understand is people who don't believe in God. Because God to me is love. That's not a church thing or a denomination thing. God is that universal love, and that love is an energy that's a healing, a positive energy that makes things grow. And not understanding that, I can't imagine what are they thinking? They only have to be thinking of gloom and despair. And how can you survive with that attitude?
Absolutely. Love heals all, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah.
So thank you, and I don't mean to dominate the air, but I appreciate and I love being able to not be afraid to talk. This is a biggie for me, and I'm more excited that I believe God has a plan for me, and as long as I keep believing that, I believe good things are going to happen. They have to.
Definitely. Yeah, and we're gonna get together. We're gonna get you on YouTube so you can vlog this stuff and share this information, because, you know, a lot of people are going through this right now, and it's encouraging to have another outlook other than, you know, you're gonna die in 2 years from a doctor, you know, and to have hope and that things can change, and then to have someone like you and so many others that you've talked about on this website, Chris Wark, is it?
Wark,
Yeah. So yeah, that's what people need to focus on instead of the doctor's report, is the hope and the success stories that are out there, and to connect with that and then resonate with that survival, and that's becoming a vibrational match for that healing is what actually brings it about, you know. But if you're sitting there worried about the doctor's report, and, you know, and I'm not saying it to be easy, but it's doable, you know, once you get over that initial shock.
Well, that's the other thing is prepare yourself that everyone doesn't know what you know. And you're going to get conflict and resistance from your family begging you to do that. And I got that from all of them. Can't you do both? Can't you do chemo? And then the rest of that story is you may alienate yourself from your loved ones. But if that's if you have resistance and their negativity, perhaps at this time during your healing, you do need to separate from them, because unfortunately sometimes family can be a really big toxic negativity. And I just want to say, one more thing that came to mind, but that one of the most valuable books that I read was that one, and I know I talked about it before, but it's Parental Alienation. And I didn't understand what that word meant before, but just the gesture of separating from children and their parents, that causes disease in everybody. And this book teaches there's a support group about it, but understanding and dealing with it, because it does affect your heart, and your heart affects your immune system. And not being able to process all that is very much difficult for your healing to go forward. But finding those kinds of books that explain, another one is Deadly Emotions, understanding that a lot of our disease is based on an emotional trauma and how to process it. And that is also a self-journey, and everyone does it differently, but finding a support where you can process it is another crucial part of the moving forward.
Absolutely, so, Carrie. Thank you so much for all of this great information, and yeah, I think it's been a big help.
Well, thank you. We'll get more organized, because I really wasn't. I wasn't. This was a
shooting from the hip,
moment.
Right? Annie Oakley.
Yeah, because there we go. Someday we'll talk about Annie Oakley, because that's another one of my favorite books. Annie, and all that have never read The Trials of Annie Oakley, is the most awesome book, and you don't know who she is. She's a sharpshooter, but she made a huge impact on so many lives. And why I admire her so much is because she wrote the President of the United States and tried to get women in the Army, and she taught women how to shoot, and she taught men how to shoot, but she was a gifted shooter. But she also was a gifted writer, and she wrote letters all over the world, and she made a huge impact in the newspaper world. She sued a lot of newspaper companies because some woman said she was Annie Oakley and got arrested. She was a hooker, and then the newspaper printed that Annie Oakley had fallen into bad ways and was stealing money, and anyway, really ruined her.
You mean that kind of stuff happened before the internet?
Yeah.
Wow.
But see, and the same thing goes is that every newspaper picked it up and printed it as if it was the truth. And so she wrote and changed it all and proved that wasn't her, but her actions caused a lot of changes in the newspaper industry, and she made a huge difference in not just that part of her life, but she stood up for herself. I guess that's the part about this is me standing up for myself.
Absolutely.
But also I am a sharpshooter, and I write letters like crazy. We have a lot in common, but I'm not near the capacity of a wonderful person that she was. She was loved by all the other countries. She traveled everywhere. She's the one that was in the Buffalo Bill and the Wild West shows. But she's just an awesome lady that and that's where she came into my world, because my email address was Annie Oakley 5, and so then after the attack I became Annie Oakley 5 is still alive, because I'm very kind of a little bit pissed off about this, because they keep saying I'm supposed to be dead, and everybody's acting like I'm dead already. My family, I'm from law enforcement because I have done the cannabis thing. I'm on one side of the street, they're on the other, and my daddy says out of sight, out of mind, and I love them all, and I get it that they're fighting for me because they think I'm doing something stupid. But I know I'm still alive because I didn't do something stupid that they think I should do. So all that said, it's kind of like a funny thing to me now, is that and the other part of that is Jeff looks just like Buffalo Bill, and so I think he's reincarnated as well. I've decided I'm reincarnated.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're definitely carrying on with the spirit of her. Yeah, for sure. And your story's going out to the whole world as we speak right now. I mean, think of all the countries that are listening in. So.
Oh, yeah, forget about that.
Yeah, it's so much easier than it used to be in her day.
Well, that's where, because I have mailed out many letters, but I've never been able to make contact and get feedback from anybody. So to me, I planted seeds everywhere. And when I get my music going, and they're all, and the whole thing about Annie Oakley still alive, they'll all go, oh my God, I got an email from her. I remember her. Especially, the ones that are really going to get cracked about all this is that all the tech support that I've talked to all over the world has heard my story, because I ADHD like this on the phone with my tech support people, because I'm trying to explain why I don't understand what they're saying, and because I just had a stroke and I'm recovering, so which is, repeat that again and this kind of thing, but they all end up saying, I'm going to pray for you, and I can't wait till you get your book done. And so, I mean, I've already sold 1 million books just talking to all this, and I'm on tech support a lot because me and the computer devices don't always jive, but I'm getting better. I say all that because we all have a purpose, and it's all going to work out, and I am excited, and I thank you very much. And I should get off here now so somebody else can share their story, but I will be back on because there's so much undone said stuff, and the rest of the story is perhaps someday I won't have this run-on sentence thing going on, and I will be sharing my story, my songs and my music, and the rest of the story about how I meant, my dream is to go to Quantum University and to write this patient portal system that I want to write for my grandkids, and sing these. I truly believe that my music will help pay for learning and teaching other people all the resources that should be out there for them. There's so many support groups that could be more helpful to people, like they're only on Social Security. And I want to change the resources available for help. I have not been able to connect the dots anywhere where I can tell somebody else, if you have cancer and you're going through this, here's how to get financial help, or here's how to get, all I can tell them is here's a book to read. And then you have to learn how to apply what you learn or you read in there to, the easier part is there's many videos out there, but how to teach somebody how to do this when it is hard. It's a very hard journey, and I want to help bridge that gap where it's not that difficult as it is. It's a very difficult journey.
Yes, it is.
So
and
thank
you've
you
done
again.
a great job, and I appreciate you sharing your story and encouraging others. That's why we're here. So thank you, Carrie, so
Amen.
much.
You're welcome. Good evening, everybody.
Lots of love to you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, going to go back to the phone lines, and gosh, Carrie is such an inspiration. She's had, I think, 22 near-death experiences. She just keeps on trucking like Annie Oakley, so lots of love to her. 256 area code, you're live. Who am I talking to?
Hey.
Yep, are you there? Who am I talking to?
Hey.
Hello?
Hello.
Yep, you're live.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I don't know if you could hear me. I didn't think you said 205. So I wasn't sure it was me you were talking to.
Yep, you're coming through fine.
This is Jolie.
Oh, Josie, you said?
Jolie.
Jolie. Oh, okay. Hey, from the chat, Jolie.
Hey. I called in a while back, and you couldn't hear me, I don't think. It was real garbled, and it's been a few months ago when I first saw you on Candace's interview.
Yeah, it's a little bit better. You might want to, I think, earbuds, or are you calling from phone or computer?
Yeah, I'm calling from my phone. I have earbuds that have a mic.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can hear you. It's just it is a little muffled a little bit, but I can make you out.
Okay.
So where are you calling in from? Is that Alabama 256?
Yeah, Alabama.
Well, cool.
I was going to say maybe if I turn the headphones off and I could just do it through the phone, it might not be as garbled. I've tried this before, and it was really garbled.
Right. You had a lot of cool insight on, was it April's BQH?
Yes. I couldn't go to sleep until I typed you into that.
Yeah, that was awesome. I did forward that to April, and that was really cool. Have you had your own BQH? Oops, did I lose you? Oh, no. Oh, no, I lost you. I am going to take a quick break. I don't normally have to run to the bathroom, but I drink a lot of water, so I'm going to put some music on. Hopefully Jolie will call right back, and yeah, I'll be right back. it echoey the whole time? My bad. Let's see. Is Jolie back? No. But I did want to thank Raleigh for the generous contributions, and he was wanting to get the message out about a get-together for Mandela Effect. I guess it's a Mandela Effect get-together in November. I think probably the best way is to, if you're not subscribed to Dark Wolf's Den YouTube channel, then subscribe to that, because that's where the information will be coming from. Unfortunately, it's so far up, I don't think I can scroll and get... I know it's in November, but yeah, if you can go to Dark Wolf's Den and follow him on YouTube. And if Ahmad wants to, put his link in there, that would be awesome. Okay, I think Jolie's back. Let's see here. Just 1 second. Let's unmute. Are you back, Jolie?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I just lost you. You just dropped right off.
I was trying to turn my headphones off to see if you could hear me better, but I think it just ended the call completely.
Oh, no.
I called back twice. It finally got back through. I couldn't hear you anymore because I had turned the volume down on my iPad.
Oh,
I'm watching the thing on my iPad, but I was listening to you through the phone while I was on hold, and I couldn't hear what you were saying through the iPad, but I had to turn the volume down so it wouldn't echo back at me.
Yeah, because there is quite a bit of a delay if you're listening. If you're listening on here on TalkShoe, then you're getting it in real time, but on YouTube it's about 15 to 20 seconds behind delayed, so it gets pretty confusing.
Okay, well, as long as you can hear me, I'll just leave the earbuds in.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know how to disconnect them now. I'm like, how do you disconnect them? So we were talking about that was amazing, that session. And in the chat, while I was listening to it, I was saying, oh, you got to finish, you got to do it, you got to do the rest of it. But then after I was like, no, that's not what you need to do. Like, this is what it is. It was just crazy. I don't know. It was amazing session. You did a really good job. I want to say,
thank you.
I've never had a BQH session. I just completed the BQH course.
Mm-hmm.
I had QHHT course. I completed it 3 years ago, and I've been doing QHHT sessions mostly with people I know. I had a few people drive in and have a session with me, but mostly I've wrangled friends and family into. They have no idea what in the world it is. But still, it doesn't matter. They're still amazing sessions.
All right.
And it's I'm excited. I haven't done a session since I've finished the course a few days ago, but I'm having a session tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy that I'm doing a session with, I had already done a session with him before, and I told him, I said, well, we get to try out some new stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so he had the QHHT before, and now he's doing the BQH with you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in his sessions, were always really cool because, like, he didn't see anything, but just little snippets. And I think somebody was talking about that in here one time. He would just see really fast, like he would see, say, like a purple balloon, or then he would see like a playing card, and then he would see like just really fast things. And so when I asked, why are you seeing, why he was seeing that, because in QHHT, you go through it all, and then you just call forth the higher self and ask questions. And when I asked that, it was like, because that's the way he does everything. He doesn't focus on anything for more than, it's like he jumps from one thing to another. Mm-hmm. And that was like a symbolism to him that you're going to have to start focusing on more than one thing, and not just jump around. Mm-hmm. But what was really cool, one of the things we saw was like somebody in a war and a soldier. And then he saw like a guy parachuting in, but he said that wasn't a guy parachuting in, it was an angel.
Oh.
And he was like, I was like, well, that's pretty cool. But then, like, he would get like 45 minutes of this profound advice from his higher self when we did that session. So it was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he really didn't see any, past lives or, things from his present life or anything like that, he would still get that connection and have all of his questions answered and talk about himself, in third person, and it was just really cool.
All right.
So he had called me again and wanted to do another session, and he was like, he hadn't even listened to the first session, and I was like, well, you need to listen to it.
Yeah.
Because, the more you listen to it, that's what we were taught. The more you listen to it, the more healing. So,
Right.
so I made him another copy, and I sat and listened to it and got all excited. I was like, you got to listen to this. And there's like 45 minutes of you talking nonstop, giving yourself advice about every aspect of your life. And so he did, and we're going to do another session tomorrow, which it ought to be interesting because now I have some more tools.
Yeah. What did you think about the course? Was it pretty easy to follow? Did you like it?
Oh my gosh, it was absolutely amazing. I mean, the QHHP course was really good, but it was like 30-something hours of videos of the Lord, teaching. So I was up at 3 a.m. So when I've got to get up in 3 hours, I mean, I could not quit watching those videos of the Lord, but I put it off for 3 years. It's weird how it all came in threes.
Mm-hmm.
I put it off for 3 years after first finding out about the Lord, and I read the 3 Waves of Volunteers, and I read it in less than a week, and I knew at the moment, this was in 2013, I was like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was 3 years before that I finally took the course, and I kicked myself for the longest, and then I realized, well, that's the way it was supposed to be, I did.
Mm-hmm.
But I have 2 daughters, and they're 11 and 12. And so I was wondering, when am I going to have time, to listen to 30-something hours of videos, and, when am I going to have time to do it? And when I finally decided to do it, I was supposed to be going to a conference with the company I worked with at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, I'll go ahead and get the materials, and then I'll be down there, so I'll have some time at night to listen to it. I was finished with it before I ever went down there. I mean, I could not quit watching the videos. It was so great. And like I said, I'm in Alabama, so I'm kind of like you and Candace. I'm kind of right in the middle of this place where, there's not a lot of people around here that think the way we all do in this chat. And I just want to say that I am so thankful that you have created this channel and gathered all these people in here, because it is so hard when you grow up, knowing the things, that I knew, and there's nobody that understands. It's just absolutely, you're just isolated. And I think we were all supposed to go through that, and I think that's all over. But
that is amazing, because it's like we were all off in the wilderness. We left our little group. We went out on a limb, right? And we went out and we felt like we were off in the wilderness, and then you find this clearing with all these other people that wandered off in the wilderness. You're like, hey, what's up, you guys? It's like, and here we are. I mean, when I started this channel, I just thought I was just needing to vent a little bit, and because I couldn't talk to anybody in my real life, so I was like, I'll just talk to no one. And little did I know, a couple of years later, here are all these people that felt the same way, and I'm so glad we've created this place that we can come and chat and hang out and share the love, and I can always feel the love coming from the chat, so it's wonderful. I'm glad everyone's a part of it, and this would be nothing without everyone that's here. So I'm glad I created it, but I'm glad you guys showed up.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about that telepathic thing that you posted the other day, because when I was listening to it, I was like, that's what that is. Like, when I was a child, I mean, this is, to me, it just makes so much sense to me now. But when I was a child, okay, I know everybody does this, especially everybody in here has done this. I would hear somebody say my name right as I was trying to fall asleep. That's how it started. But somebody would just say Jolie, and it sounded just like my mom. And I would get up and I would go downstairs or, you know, wherever she was, and she was asleep. And I was like, I know she just called me. And so I would just be like, okay, that's weird. So I'd go to sleep. And then it changed. It became vision. Like, one time it was a little boy that was walking down, he was like going into the woods, and he looked like Mowgli in the Jungle Book. And he had on like a little loincloth, and he was motioning with his hand for me to follow him, like, come on, follow me. And so, like, I just opened my eyes, I'm like, what was that? You know, and I it was things like, who was that? What was that? And so, over the years, things like that would happen. I mean, it didn't happen every night, but it would happen a lot. I mean, one time it was a Native American, and he was an older Native American, and I don't know who he was, but he was beautiful. I don't know who he was. And one time it was a structure, and I was like, I'd never seen it. It wasn't a teepee. It wasn't a hut. I mean, I started looking online, and this was about 2000. So, like, the internet wasn't like it is now. You couldn't just find anything. And I was trying to figure out, it was made with saplings and, like, deer skins, but it was dome-shaped. And I was telling my dad, you know, like, I don't know what this is, but I could build one. I know I could build one. And he was like, I don't know. And so I came to find out, I think years later, that it's what do they call it, a sweat lodge?
A sweat lodge?
I
like
think
a sauna? Or is it?
Yeah, it's a dome-shaped structure, and it was made with just like taking little saplings and bending them to make a dome, and then like it had like deer skin or some kind of animal skin as the covering. And so, but my dad, he would say stuff like, well, my grandmother was full-blooded Osage Indian, and I don't know. I don't know. And then I would, you know, read. I was actually born knowing how to read, and nobody ever believed me. But that's one reason I believed in reincarnation, because
yeah, how else would you know how to read when you were born if you weren't here before?
And this is the cool part. So the Mandela effect, the reason that caught my attention, which I really think it's just something really cool for us to go, oh, yeah, there's some verification. When I was 4, I was in nursery school, and I was reading a book, and the lady, one of the nursery school teachers, came over and said, are you reading or studying pictures? And I told her I was reading, and she was like, well, read that to me. So I started reading it to her, and she flipped out. I mean, she flipped. She called my mom. Did you know she could read? And the book I was reading was The Berenstain Bears. And I knew when I saw that, I was like, there is no doubt in my mind that was spelled with an E instead of an A. Because that was the book that I was reading, just like you would think of. You know, I remember that. Like, it was definitely Stein, but it was pronounced Stein. And I've always had this, like, I can't stand for something to be spelled different than it's pronounced. Like Brett Favre should be Favre.
Oh, right.
Those kind of things, like Brett Favre, not Favre. Because the letters backwards, they're letters backwards. So anyways, I knew, like I know, but my mom would carry around a newspaper with her everywhere she went, so I could read the newspaper. And I wasn't just reading C. James runs. Like, I could read anything. And so my mom then would just logically explain it away because my sister was in first grade and she was learning to read and she taught me. And I was like, no, she didn't. She can't even read.
You're already reading better than her.
Yeah, but I know, like, it was like I brought that with me. And so there's so many things that each and every one of us have that brought us to right where we are. My first memory, and I wouldn't tell people this, like I told people this for a while, and they looked at me so strange. And that's when you start stuffing that stuff. You know, like it was talking about in that thing, you start stuffing everything. But my first memory is, what am I doing here again? And I was like completely helpless. I had to be a baby in the nursery at the hospital or in my crib. And I was scared to death. And I was like, what am I doing here again? And that's the first thing I ever remember thinking, like consciously, in this life.
Right.
And so when I would tell people that, they were just like, I mean, just really, like they give you that look, you know, like you're crazy. I was like, no, for real. I mean, so then, like when I was 12, there was an education group, and I can't remember if it was on prophecy or on reincarnation, but it was one of those two. And I read it, and it was, my dad had it. Like, it came in a box of westerns that my uncle had gave him or something. I was like 12, and I read this book, and I can remember, the biggest thing I remember about that was he talked about a ship. But at the time, I thought he was talking about a polar ship, and I think he was part of the time.
Right. It might all be connected. I've wondered if it's going to be connected. Yeah.
It was like a polar ship. Like where there's ice would be sunny, and where there's sun it would be cold. But another thing he said was, one day everybody will be able to do what I do. And I never forgot that. So when I found the Lord's Canon and read the book, and I was like, this is what he was talking about. This is exactly what he was talking about. Because that's what he did. He put himself in a trance and told people how to heal themselves, or spoke in different languages that he couldn't speak when he was conscious, and he was saying that everybody would be able to do it one day. And I mean, he died in the 50s. So that was, pretty cool. And it is all connected. Like, since I didn't know how to read when I was born, I've read a lot. And Neil Donald Walsh, love his books.
Neil Donald Walsh, did you say?
Yeah, the Conversations with God series. The Conversations with God. Okay. He wrote this book, I think it was in the 90s. He wrote these books, and I didn't read those three first. I read one. He wrote several other books, like the Lord's Canon. He wrote one called Communion with God, Friendship with God. And he actually wrote these books doing automatic writing, pretty much. He wrote an angry letter to God, and he started writing down the answers. And that was some of the best books. Well, about a year ago, there was a fourth book of the trilogy, The Conversations with God, had 3 books. And there was a fourth book, and he said he didn't know it was coming either. And the name of it was Awaken the Species. And
Awaken to what?
Awaken the Species.
Let's see here.
Awaken the Species. S-P-E-C-I-E-S.
Okay.
And when I found out the name of it, I was like, holy cow, because by then I had already been reading all the Dolores Cannon books, Brian Weiss, all these things, and they were all connected.
Yeah.
Like, here you have James Van Prague, which is a medium, and he wrote the Reaching to Heaven and Talking to Heaven and a whole bunch of other books. But he got his information from, because he's a medium, he would do readings for people and tell them what their loved ones had to say to them, And so, but it's all connected. It's like, but when I found out the name of the Neil Donald Walsh, the fourth book of the trilogy, I was like, well, to like read it before it ever came out. And my cousin, she ordered it, and I let her have the 3 and let her read them, and I read the 4th one, and then she has all 4 of them right now, but I gotta get them back. But she's a somnambulist. She's one of my very favorite subjects to do hypnosis with, and she's deaf.
You said she's deaf?
She's deaf.
How the heck do they do that? That's a...
Exactly. I had told her about the THHP, and she has a cochlear implant, but she still has to read this. Like, she still can't hear very good.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the coolest part. Like, this, all this was for me, like, to verify to me that this is real. Like, I'm like real skeptical, and I even like, when I was reading Dolores Cannon's books, I was still kind of like, I don't know, this, you know. But when I started doing sessions and seeing it for myself, like you said, I was like, holy cow. And like I had told her, I was at her house swimming, and I told her about it, and she told me about Brian Weiss, and her daughter had, you know, read his book. And it was a year later that she said, well, maybe, I told her I had been there with my dad, has hearing aids, he's pretty deaf, and I've done sessions for him. And I said, I can put earbuds in his ear, and he'll come into my digital recorder, and it amplifies it for me. And she said, well, that won't work with me because I have this cochlear implant. It's like a magnet thing up here on top of my head. She said, but we might could use my Bose speaker. And I was like, well, let's just try it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we tried it, and she went deeper than anybody. Like, she was gone completely. Like, she don't remember any of it, and she was pointing, like, there's my bedroom up there, like, describing her house. She was pointing up at the ceiling, and I was like, oh, my gosh. I mean, I've never had anybody go that deep. And then she would whisper, like, we gotta be quiet, you know, and I knew she couldn't hear me, so I wouldn't whisper, but she kept saying, shh. So I started whispering, and she could hear me. Under hypnosis, she could hear me whispering. I mean, I was, like, blown away, because she's been deaf since 1984. And I was like, so, I couldn't get over that. I was like, okay, so physically, she's deaf, but while she's in that state, she could hear.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was the coolest.
That's incredible. I mean, clearly something's going on there, you know?
You know, and a lot of her sessions were information for me. There was a lot about the energy, you know, the energy coming in. There was a lot of stuff about, and her higher self was like, this is for you. You know, you need to learn all this. But there was stuff about, at one point she was like part of a council, and she was overseeing like people that were deciding what to take with them when they incarnate on Earth. Like what types of characteristics, personalities, like I guess me knowing how to read, that kind of thing, I guess you get to choose that.
Wow, yeah,
choose before you come. You know, you get to choose the thing that you, because you're not going to remember. You can't remember your past. You can't remember that from before.
Mm-hmm.
But I remembered some things. Like I think I remembered that there is a better place than here. I mean, it's a lot more. There's no violence and the hatred and all that. Because when I was a child, I was a very depressed child. I think that's why I related to the book particularly so much. Because I mean, I never tried to kill myself, but I would pray at night. I would just pray to die. Take me back to that place. You know, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be here. Just please take me.
And it all made sense once I got a hold of Dolores Cannon too. That's when the light bulb went on. Now I wanted to tell you before I forget the 3 waves of volunteers for anybody who has that book. There's a chapter in there called "The Best Plan for Earth" or "The Best Agenda for Earth" or something along those lines. And I believe that guy's session talks about the Mandela effect long before it was an internet fad, you know, or even before the phrase was coined. Although the book came out, I think, in 2011, that session was from the early 2000s or something, but I believe they don't say Mandela effect, but they describe the Mandela effect and discuss actually making physical changes to our material reality. I don't know if you remember that. It didn't stand out to me until I went back and reread it, but yeah, that's really interesting. I want to say it's chapter 22, but it's the best agenda for Earth or something along those lines, and it sounds just like they're talking about the Mandela effect. So you might want to recheck out that part of it, because I think you'll trip out when you read it. You're like, oh my God, this is the Mandela effect. It's to wake us up, you know?
Yeah, I'll have to go back and read it. Now, I have reread most of her books, the Jesus books especially. Like, I love Jesus and their Things and Jesus, They Walk with Jesus. I could read those 100 times. Those are my favorite too. But the first one I read was The Three Ways of Volunteers, because, and it's so weird how we I don't know, our higher self, our guides, or whatever gives us this stuff. But it was just a friend of mine on Facebook had posted an interview with Dolores on the Moore Show, and it was just like, whatever she said, I was thinking, well, that might be cool to listen to while I'm cleaning the house or whatever, you know. And when it said ETs, though, this is what's so weird. Like, I almost didn't listen to it because it said the three ways, ETs, 3 ways of volunteers, ETs in the New Earth, or ETs, whatever it said. And I can remember thinking, ETs? You know, maybe I don't want to listen to that. But I did listen to it, and every bit of it made sense. Like, it made complete sense. So I downloaded the book on my Kindle, and I read it. Just, like I said, in less than a week, I had that book read. And I could feel, like, every time she talked about, you know, the people when they would, you know, shake, or it was almost like I could feel it in my body. Like, while I was reading it, it was just, I don't know. And
I'm getting the truth bumps now with that you're even mentioning it.
When I finished reading it, I was like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I said it was 3 years before I finally did it. 2016, I did it. And then it was 3 years, almost to the day, that I completed the BTH course. There's something about the threes. That's like that powerful number there. So
yeah,
the
like the Trinity that came up in.
But I think if I'd have done it sooner, I would have gotten discouraged, because the way things are happening and the way the shift is happening and the way the energy's amping up. In 2013, I may not have even been able to get as many people, like friends and family, to let me do it.
Right.
Totally. Because, but I mean, all of them did. I couldn't believe it. Like, I had so many people going, I'll let you try it on me. And I was like, cool, let's do it. And so, it, you know, and it's so life-changing, I think, for people, and even for me. And it made me have such a bond with these people that I never had before, actually, because it's like it's such an intimate thing, that energy, and combining that energy, and you have like an even stronger bond, even though they're family. It helps with that bond with these people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, they weren't all my family. The first guy that came, he drove and came and did a session with me. His session was textbook perfect. I think it was 3 or 4 past lives, and one of them, he was a woman, which was, you know, amazing to me at the time. And even though I had read all about it, you know, I just couldn't believe it. And it was just textbook perfect. Every one of his questions was answered. I did a body scan and found out that he had a back problem that he had not told me about. And Wi-Fi was healed it. And he brought 2 of his college-age kids to me 6 months later to do sessions and told me he hadn't had a pain in his back since. And I was like, well, is that not the most amazing thing? I couldn't get over it. Like, I was just like, but just exactly what you said the other day, you have to let go and know that everything that happens in that session is based on that person that the session is for. We don't really have any. I mean, yeah, you got to know what questions to ask, but your higher self sort of does that. And then it really does. Like, there were questions in some of these sessions with my cousin that I was talking about so deep. But when I had to type them all up for her because she couldn't listen to the recording. Mm-hmm. And I would be going, where did that question come from? I don't remember thinking about asking that. But it's almost like your higher self jumps in. It's like your higher self and their higher self having this conversation. And so let me go. And I've been a counselor. I have 3 bachelor's degrees. Mm-hmm. And I've been a counselor for, drug addiction or opiate addiction. I've been a counselor for kids, like tween age, like 12, 13, 14. And I've worked at the Department of Human Resources, investigating child abuse and rape, all this stuff over the years. And all those things, especially if you're empathic, it's really hard, but all those things, you have to kind of know things.
Right.
Like, you have to know things.
Mm-hmm.
But with this, you don't. Like, you don't have to know, because they can come to you and they can tell you all their problems in the pre-talk. And my thing is, I'm not going to try to tell them anything I think. I'm going to let their higher self do it, because I don't know the answer.
Yeah, and it helps people hear it from themselves, if they, especially if they don't remember. And I wanted to go back to what you were saying about the somnambulistic level. You don't even have to go that deep. I mean, it's amazing when it happens, but I found that people that are really at the lightest level still get what they need and, are touched in a profound way. I mean, it's really a life-changing event, not only for the client, because it's their journey, and it really is. It feels like a journey of the upper realms where, you don't get to see very often and feel and experience. And when you go into these sessions with these people, it's just so amazing. And I feel so honored to be allowed to take part in that, really. But they're really doing it.
They really are. And it absolutely, even in the lightest state, it's just talking to people. I think there's healing occurring during the pre-talk. Mm-hmm. I mean, seriously, but it's because they're all our teams, like my team, their team, and, everybody's there, and it's just all happening, but it's that asking that you have to ask.
Yeah.
And when they schedule a session, or when they're asking for the help, and once they've asked for that help, it's on. It's going to happen. And that's the coolest thing. I put something in the chat earlier that actually came to me this morning when I was waking up. It's usually when I'm falling asleep or when I'm waking up.
Mm-hmm.
And I just posted it, and I was like, if I don't type it in here, I won't be able to say it. But it was something about receiving manna from heaven. Like, I had to, get my phone, because it was fading away, but it's like when they were in the desert and the manna came from heaven to feed them, it's almost like what's happening right now with us. There's manna coming down from heaven, but it's nourishing our souls, and you have to ask for it.
Yeah.
But it's like right now is 30 years ago when I was starting to die, I would have never dreamed that the world would be like it is right now. I mean, you can look out there and you can look for negative stuff and you can see all the negative stuff. But if you look for the stuff like this stuff on your channel, and there's stuff everywhere, the books I've named, and if you look for that stuff, and if you ask for the guidance from within, and that's another thing, people look outside of themselves too much for help with healing or whatever, and I think people have to learn this telepathy thing that you posted. That was just amazing, because I didn't realize that is what I was doing when I was a kid praying to die. I would also, people sit down, they get on their knees next to the bed, and they put their hands together, and they say a prayer. And it's usually, God bless Mama and Daddy, and, they teach kids that from a child. But I would lay in the bed and just talk. I would just ask questions. And usually the answer would either pop in my head right then, and I would think, well, that was a dumb question. Why'd I ask it? I knew the answer. I didn't realize I was getting you know what I'm saying? And then, or if I didn't get the answer right away, I would, like, 2 or 3 days later, sometimes, somebody would come up and say something to me that answered it, or I would see it on something or read it somewhere. So it's like you just ask for it, it's going to come in some form or another. It may not be instant, but you're going to get the answer. And that, to me, when I was listening to that telepathy video that you posted, I was thinking, that's what I was doing. I didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
And that's what all these voices that were saying my name and visions. I mean, one time it was a vision. I was dozing, and it was like there was this group of women, and they were all surrounding this table, and they were waiting on me. They were like, "Are you coming?" And I was like, and I'll always open, because it startles me. Like, I'll open my eyes, and I know I wasn't asleep. But I'll be like, what is that? So I went on and went to sleep, but I thought, well, they were waiting on me for something.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to sleep quick enough for them, whatever it was. So, I mean, it's really cool when you start hearing, like, the stuff you posted, and you get that little aha moment.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, wait a minute. You know, this is like somebody trying to communicate with me. And I wouldn't get it. Like, I would see it, but I'm running around trying to figure out what was that. You know, like that dome shake thing. And a few years later, a friend of mine just out of the blue said, I got to tell you something. And I was like, okay. And we were talking about something totally different. It was totally unrelated. And she told me about her and another lady going to a women's prayer meeting at a teepee that's not far from my house. There's this reservation, and they got a teepee, buffaloes, a Native American horses, and the lady that actually started this, she came from New Jersey or somewhere, but she's like Lakota Indian, and she has been gathering these horses from all over the world that are the actual Native American spirit horses, is what they call them. And she wrote a book that was about, it's something bad happened and I can't feel God anymore. And she had a bunch of stuff happen to her, and the being with the force brought heaven down, as she called it, in this book. And her husband went up on a mountain and prayed, and she was able to get healing. She pretty much had post-traumatic stress disorder. The doctors couldn't help her. But she started this place that was like a safe haven for women that are abused or drug addiction or whatever, and they can come, and they go in this teepee, and they do this prayer meeting, and it's just beautiful. But when I went there the first time, I saw this dome-shaped thing that I saw that night, and it's been like 15 years. Well, since I'd seen that in my head, but I was like, and it wasn't complete. It was just the frame. They were working on this sweat lodge, is that what I called it? It was just the frame of it. So they hadn't even finished it and done the skins and stuff on it, but I knew immediately when I saw it, that's what I saw. And that was, you know, so long ago when I had seen it. But, you know, it's like you get all these little nudges. I mean, we come here, we have no memories, but we get all these little nudges and all these little things that maybe years later that you understand exactly why you saw that, or because it just stays right there in your brain, especially something that just comes to you out of nowhere, like just something you've never seen before, and there it is. In your mind, and you're like, what is that?
Yeah.
And I've also had a lot of people go into, there's got to be some kind of, like, you have your physical connection because of your DNA that's linked back through the generations, but you also have your spiritual connection based on, you know, the things that you brought with you from in spirit. So I think there's some kind of a Native American link, because I have a lot of people go into Native American lives, and it's some of the coolest things that have happened. Like, where you actually, one time it was a man, he was a white man, and he was actually the guy that was supposed to tracked down the Indians for the white army that was trying to find them. He was a tracker, and he got lost in the woods, and this Native American lady took his hand, took him to her tribe, where the men were not happy about him being there, but he ended up integrating with them and staying there and marrying her. And this was in somebody's session, okay? Right. And and then the last day of his life, he's running, his wife's pregnant, and they're running, and they're going to this cave, but he got shot. That's how he died. But the white man had found him. But he had actually been helping the white man find them all these years until he ended up meeting them and realizing they're not like they said they were at all. You know, and then actually living with them every month. I mean, it was really cool. Like, yeah. And I forget most of my sessions. I just like with the person with the dream, I'll remember little parts like that, but then like most of them, I don't remember them. Like with me, it's age 2, so I have to actually listen to it again if I actually remember.
I'm the same way, and then you'll notice things that stand out. You're like, wait, that came up in another session. Now that's where Dolores Cannon's books were amazing, because that happened to her, and she'd be like with a client in Europe, and then come back to America and pick up the conversation. And if you believe her, if you get those truth bumps when you're listening to her, then you know it's something real's going on, because that's impossible, you know.
Yeah, and I think that was on purpose, because so many people wouldn't have believed it. And you know, she made a point to say, you know, this is just verification. She had 12 different people that the Nostradamus material came through. 12 people. The first lady was a woman from Alaska, and when she moved back to Alaska, in a session, she was told, this is not the last you'll hear from me. Now, the Nostradamus book is the ones, I did not read all of those. I read the first one, and it was so depressing, okay? Even though she made sure everybody knows that this was worst case scenario, and that we've actually thwarted a lot of that stuff, but it's not going to happen now because of what we've done with raising the vibration and changing things. I couldn't read the other 2 books. Like, reading those, and it was just too gloom and doom to me. I read the first one, and I finished it, but it was hard. It was really hard to read, because there was so much hate and so much violence. And I was just like, I don't even want to focus on that. But it was cool how it happened, and how she was able to connect with him, and through 12 people. 12 people?
Yeah. Before
it was over with. It was 12 different people from different parts of the world that she got information from for those books, that answered all his little quatrains, you know, that actually figured them out. He told her what they meant. And it's pretty cool how back then that's what you had to do to get any kind of information out, is just disguise it, or it's kind of like the Da Vinci Code. Now, whether or not that's real or not, but you know, supposedly there's a lot of coded information in those pictures, because he couldn't just outright say, here's what I think. Yeah. So he had to like put it as artistic expression, and put it into a painting, and put it in a way that most people wouldn't see it unless they were looking for it. It was hidden in plain sight.
Thank God things have changed, right? I think the church would have came after me a few times already. I would have been burned at the stake if this was a couple of centuries ago. So I'm thankful things have changed, and we can just speak, you know.
And Dolores had to assure people of that, because there was a lot of people she did sessions with that had been burned at the stake or hung, and she had to like go in and remove all that fear from those past lives and say, it's not going to happen now. The way things are now, that's not going to happen. And or her higher self would say, you know, yeah, that's not going to happen this time. You can use your gift and not be burned at the stake anymore. And that's,
and that's,
to me, I love that about her.
Yeah, that deep down that fear that can carry on through lifetimes, because, you know, if you've spoken up in a previous life and got killed for it, then you might have blockages, you know, in this lifetime.
Yeah, they had blockages, and that's what a lot of things that got cleared in their sessions, because they were so afraid to use those gifts, because they had been burned at the stake or whatever type of torture and things that they did, because they could tell you when it was going to rain. And I think that might have been in the actual THH2 class, that she did a session with one of the people in the class that were taking the class, and the girl was come into a thing where she was being burned at the stake. And what she had done was she knew things, like when it was going to rain and things like that, and she trusted the wrong person and told them something, and they went and told on her, and she was burned at the stake for being able to tell people things that were going to happen. Because people, it was the power and control. They were threatened by it. They were threatened by that. It was too much power. One of the best books that I ever read is called The Gnostic Gospels by Elaine Pagels.
The Gnostic Gospels by who?
Elaine Pagels.
Oh, okay. Elaine Pagel.
And it's about Jesus. It's about when Jesus was crucified, and, you know, the Gnostics were actually the followers of Jesus, and it means knowing. And Gnostic just means knowing. And they were crucified in so many horrible ways. Like, not just crucified, they were killed in many, many ways. All these people were rounded up and killed. And it talks about the Constantine is the one that put the Bible together. He was the one. He was a Roman soldier. He was a Roman. He was like over the army, captain or whatever they are. And I've heard different stories. I don't know if it was in this book, but I've heard different stories that he was wearing a cross around his neck and won this battle, so he decided to become a Christian. I don't know how that's kind of weird, but I think it was all about, he was threatened. I think he was threatened by the power and the followers of Jesus, so he adapted that into his religion and just sort of combined it. But he put the Bible together. And the Gnostic Gospels are the lost Gospels. It's the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Mary, the Gospel of Philip. There's some more. I can't remember what all of them are, but in all of those, Jesus spoke, like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and it was Jesus. And he spoke to them, and the stuff he taught them, and he taught them that it's inside of you, the power is inside of you. And that's why it wasn't put in the Bible.
Right.
Because that would take away from the power. So when he put together the books in the Bible. So I'm like Dolores, I don't believe that the Bible is wrong. I just believe it's incomplete. I think there's more. And I think there's more. But the Gnostic Gospels is written about those books. They were found at Nag Hammadi.
Yeah, the Nag Hammadi, that's the ones I've read, and wow, that's got so much wonderful truth in it. And you can even see little pieces of it. One of my favorite, I talk about it often, it's called The Parable of the Fishes, and that ends with, in him we live and breathe and have our being, speaking about God. I'm like, well, that's from the Bible. I'm like, what happened to all the part that came from before that? You know, that's in the Gnostic Gospels, but it isn't in the Bible. So you'll see little fragments, you know, of the Bible in those old texts, but you're like, I don't remember reading this part, but this looks familiar, and you can actually see the editing by just reading these other texts that were being read in those days, you know.
And it's so cool, like this whole Mandela effect about the Bible. Like everybody knows it was a lion. I don't even. That is so cool to me. Like,
oh yeah.
And when I first found out about the Mandela effect, you gotta be careful what kind of videos you watch about it, because there's a lot of fear-based stuff out there about it. You know, it's CERN and it's people doing stuff. It's not. I don't think it is. I think it's supposed to have happened, so it will open our eyes. It's going to open a lot of people's eyes, because I'll be just reading these normal Facebook posts, and people will say, somebody should have spell check this plaque before they made it, because they spelled this person's name wrong and this person's name wrong. Now, in my head, I'm thinking, no, it just changed. Because, but I don't say that because on normal Facebook, people wouldn't understand what I'm talking about.
No way.
I'm thinking, no, it was probably right. It just changed, but that's pretty funny because they'll spell like add a S or an apostrophe, like you're talking about, you know, and they're like, you know, they should have spell checked this, but they hadn't caught on yet. But when they do, there's going to be something like the Bernstein knows with me and the Thinker with you that's going to really wake them up.
Yeah,
There's
and
gonna
people
be
are
one
noticing
thing.
more and more all the time. Yeah, all it takes is one thing. That's why I recommend people, I'm like, if you see one and it's not an effect for you, just look through the list real fast until you get to that one thing that, because it's beyond just remembering, it's knowing how things were that's going to get you.
And mirror, mirror on the wall, we know it was mirror, mirror on the wall. Even my kids that are 11 and 12 know it was mirror, mirror on the wall.
Yeah, now it's magic mirror on the wall.
But then there are some things, and this is why I don't think it's a timeline thing, because some of the things, are, like J.C. Panay was always J.C. Panay to me. Because I remember thinking, why is it EY?
Right.
And even years ago, but that's what that's what's so cool about it. Like,
it's individual.
Some of the stuff don't seem to have changed to me. 50% of it don't seem to have changed. It seems the way it used to be, but there's enough of it that I know for a fact changed to make me go, okay. The JFK thing, I know there were not 6 seats in that car.
Oh yeah,
okay.
The JFK one's a trip, man. That one I still can't get over. When I see it, I'm like, what? That's just so weird looking.
Yeah,
it's in color.
Every time they show it, it's in color, and I'm like, what? and so, like, there's so many things. Like I told you, I think I sent you a text about the 7 Wonders. Now I don't remember that one thing being in there. That whatever it was you said, I don't remember that being one.
Victoria Falls.
Niagara Falls.
Well, there was Victoria Falls, and then the spelling of
I
Niagara
don't remember
changing.
that either. And a rainbow something about a rainbow.
Well, I know the Rainbow Mountains are new to me. And, you know, when I first looked into them, they were only in China. And I was like, wow. And then I looked, and they had popped up somewhere else, I think in Central or South America. And then another one popped up. Quick, before I got to let you go, I got a couple of minutes left. But I wanted to find out if you're going to start practicing. And April was wanting to know if you have a channel. Do you... she says you're full of all sorts of wisdom, and she wanted to know if you do anything on your channel.
Listen, I need to have a channel. I just haven't done it. I mean, I created a channel a couple of years ago, and I posted. It's on my other one, like not the one that I'm signed into chat with y'all right now, with the butterfly, but it's on my other one. There's a snippet from a session I did a couple of years ago on there, but I've never really took the time to add any more stuff because I'm not real computer literate anymore. I used to be, but it's all just took off so much, and since I've had kids, and I used to could have done Zoom. I've got to get back into just playing around with Zoom to even do the online sessions, but I'm excited about that now. I'm excited. Did you see the orb in Candace's video, in the Lesson 9 video?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
okay,
that was incredible.
Was cool. That was really cool to me because she was actually talking about how the online sessions are just as powerful, and she was talking about the storm, and then at that same time, there was that orb, and it was 2 of them actually. It was 44 seconds to go, and 33 seconds to go was when the last one went out of the screen, so they were in 11 seconds. So I thought that was cool too. It was 44 seconds remaining. Up till 33 seconds remaining is when that last one left the screen. So it happened in 11 seconds.
I get lots of synchronicities when me and Candace communicate, like emails and stuff. We'll laugh because we're in the same time zone, so it'll be a synchronicity for both of us. And I'm like, wow, look when you sent me the email, or look when I responded, and we get a lot. It's crazy.
But that was enough of a confirmation to me, and I posted in the forum about it. I did do some screenshots for her because she had asked, and I don't think anybody had done it. And I said, this is like confirmation to me because I've heard people talk about seeing orbs in videos. I've never seen it. This one went right through her. Went right through her.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And of course, it may be the difference in the energy. Like now, I'm going to be able to see orbs that I never could. I don't know, but I've never seen them. Like I've heard people say they saw them, and I'd be like, oh shit. But,
be hard for a piece of dust to fly through someone, huh?
yeah, I kept thinking. That's what in my logical mind kept thinking that's like something dropping from the ceiling. Like you know what I mean? And the lights
right.
just right. But then when the one went down, it came up our head and it went down and it went right through, and it looked like you could see. It was translucent, and you could see her clothes through it.
Yeah.
And it was like it went through it, and then it came out down at the bottom by the hip, and just when I was screaming, I was like, I kept watching it, and I kept thinking, you know, if that was Dove, you know, just getting hit just right, it wouldn't have done that.
Right.
So I was like, we all do that. We like analyze it, or like, oh, that had to be just, you know, a bug, or that had to be, you know, something that. I've seen some really cool things, like the day of the eclipse. Me and my neighbor was sitting out on my porch. I live in an apartment, and it looked like a shooting star. I mean, it came down from behind the apartment building, down in front of us, and we both went, did you see that shooting star? Okay, well, right about that time, it started zigging and zagging back and forth across the sky, and we're like, holy cow. I grabbed my phone, I started videoing, you could hear her. She's so excited. You can't see anything on the video. And she went and told one of her friends, and her friend was like, take pictures. And so I took pictures all around, and there were these, those, what do they call them, light poles in all the pictures. That looks like a streak of white coming down, and it was not, like it was not there when I took the pictures. But after that, whatever it was kind of like the shadow of a star zigging around. I mean, it wasn't like you could see it zigging, like you could see it over here and then you see it over there. It was moving. And I went in the house, and I had just videoed it. And I went in to make sure my girls were in the bed. I had to go to school. And when I come back out, there was a cloud there. This cool shaped cloud that was not there before that had, like, lines in it, like right where it had been digging. So I got her. I was like, this cloud was not here. I took pictures of it, too. I was like, that was just the coolest thing. But that was on the day of the eclipse, 2 years ago? That when that eclipse went up in 2017, that we had the solar eclipse.
Yeah.
It was that night. Because I remember thinking we didn't have a full eclipse here. Like it was almost full, but it wasn't completely dark here. And I can remember thinking how it was so cool how the light waves were coming through the clouds. It looked like when the sun set or whatever, they're coming through the clouds. And that night I was sitting on my porch, and I noticed there was these same kind of light rays coming up from the ground. And I said, oh, look, but it's not. I didn't think about it until later. It wasn't the sun setting, because it was coming from like the southeast, not the west, where these light rays were shining up from the ground. We had been talking about those light rays, and it wasn't even dark enough for stars when this happened. Like when it first, that shooting star come down, there were no stars out yet. And I mean, that was really cool. But where we are, it's like this wide open field all around us, and so you can see the sky. I've got so many pictures of chemtrails just spiderwebbing the sky out here, and that used to really bother me, but it don't anymore, especially after listening to Steve Taylor's session. I was like, okay, I am not going to get mad about those chemtrails anymore. It used to just really, really be one of my pet peeves. And I would
me
see
too.
those.
Yeah.
Oh, I would just get so angry. That and medicine commercials, and I mean, it would just really trigger me. Like I would just be like, I can't watch that. But and it is mainly because of the fact that I know everybody's in a lighthouse state when they're watching that, and it's almost like that's what's working against us. You know what I'm saying? Those things are working against us.
Well, that's what they want. They want us
do-
in fear and worrying and anger, because all that resonates. That you're resonating. You're drawing more of that into yourself. So, yeah. So
Well,
unfortunately, I'm
not
all out
gonna
of
let
time. I've got to wrap it up here. I've gone over a little bit. And
But
my
I
wife
do have
needs to-
that channel, and it's that Joey James channel. But it's got that one station thing that I put on there, and I need to start adding some stuff to it. I mean, I really need to start like being more vocal. I know I do.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because I
get
got a
all
lot
set
of
up
stuff
and
to talk about.
yeah, get all set up and come on back, and we'll get you some subscribers.
Okay, well, I really need to because I've thought about it for a long time. And my cousin told me I needed to make a Facebook page just for the hypnosis stuff a couple of years ago, and I was like, yeah, I probably need to, but I did make a website, and I used to post articles. I hadn't posted anything on it in a while. I think I don't even know what the name of it is. I think it's JoeyJamesGHT at WordPress.com, but I did make that website and posted some articles about the energy and different things that would come out in the session. But I haven't posted on it in a while. But anyway, I'm glad I finally got through to talk to you.
Yeah, me too. Lots of love to you, Jolie. Thanks so much for calling in.
All righty, y'all have a good night.
All righty, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, you guys. We'll be back tomorrow night with Eileen. And, yeah, that's it. Have a good one. If you like what I do, go to paypal.me/UOTF. Thanks.